Chapter 2363. Mr. Park. This Gamble Bro was just an attendant in this room, and whether it was in the eyes of Southeast Asia's gambling king or the hidden house Zhao, he was just a small character. Of course, he knew how Linny came in because the hidden house Zhao had given him a heads up. Although he didn't dare offend Pu Huati, he didn't dare offend the hidden house Zhao in Donghai City. Brother Gamble could only stammer awkwardly as he did not know how to explain. "Where's Qinshi?" Linny looked at the two people who had a surprised look in their eyes. These two were probably in cahoots with the Mystic Late Phase Peak. One of them was Mystic Late Phase Peak and the other was Earth Class Early Phase. Their expressions proved that they were waiting for him. "Qinshi?" "She already lost to Southeast Asia's gambling king, Mr. Pu Huati." The Earth Class Early Phase smiled and said to Lin Yi, "There's nothing for us to do here, we're leaving. Mr. Park, enjoy yourself." Lin Yi, on the other hand, turned his attention to Pu Huati and the man in black behind him. Pu Huati. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He was a practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't see through his strength. He didn't know what level he was at. This was the first time Lin Yi's golden finger had malfunctioned like this. Even when he was facing the Sky Class from the Ice Palace, or even the Masters from the Tagan family, it never failed. But this time, it failed on a Southeast Asia gambling king. This person was indeed a spiritual practitioner, but Lin Yi couldn't see through his level. But the man in black behind him, Lin Yi could clearly see through his strength. He was an Earth-class late-phase peak spiritual practitioner. Lin Yi frowned and understood that these two were strong opponents. If they really fought, it would be very troublesome. And Lin Yi could basically conclude that Qinshi didn't have much of a relationship with these two. Qinshi and these two people actually didn't have much of a relationship. These two people getting involved was completely a trap set up by Boss Zhu. Therefore, after some consideration, Lin Yi decided not to directly deal with Pu Huati and the bodyguards behind him. Instead, he targeted the two problematic people here. "Who is the master behind you? Who told you to bring Qinshi here as a stake?" Lin Yi asked lightly, "Speak or die." This Earth-rank expert was called Zhao Guangliu. Qinshi wasn't in the room. After Lin Yi arrived, he would definitely look for Qinshi. Now that Qinshi belonged to Pu Huati, if Lin Yi wanted to make a move, it would be against Pu Huati. He didn't expect Lin Yi to target him the moment he entered the room. Of course, if Lin Yi didn't know that there was something wrong with Elder Zhu and only thought of them as enemies of Qinshi's father, perhaps Lin Yi really wouldn't care about them. But he let them go. After all, Lin Yi's main goal here was to find Qinshi. But Lin Yi knew that these people had something to do with Boss Zhu. Naturally, he wouldn't let them go. As for Pu Huati, he was someone that Lin Yi didn't care much about. "Qinshi is in the room, she belongs to Mr. Pu now. It has nothing to do with us. Qinshi's father gave her to us, don't look for us." Guangliu was a little scared. He knew that Lin Yi had crippled Elder Bai in one move, so he didn't think that he could fight against Lin Yi. "Yeah, we'll leave first if there's nothing else. You want to look for someone? Go find Mr. Pu." "Let's go to Mr. Pu." Another mystic late-phase peak Zhao Qixi said. "What's the relationship between you and Boss Zhu?" Lin Yi didn't answer the two. "What Boss Zhu? We don't know each other." Guangliu was about to turn and leave the room. He didn't want to argue with Lin Yi. The longer they stayed here, the more dangerous it would be. Zhao Qixi had the same thought. This was a fight between Lin Yi and Pu Huati, so they should leave as soon as possible. "Since you don't want to talk, then stay." Lin Yi didn't want to waste any more time with them. They were just small fries. If they didn't want to talk, then so be it. The problem still needed to be solved by Boss Zhu. The next moment Lin Yi moved. It was still the first form of the Fire 8 Trigram's palm, and Qixi died without a chance to fight back. He didn't even resist, didn't even struggle. He died just like that. In Lin Yi's eyes, killing a mystic late-phase peak was as easy as killing a chicken. "You." Guangliu wanted to say something, but Lin Yi used another Maniac 8 Trigram palm, and Guangliu died with his eyes wide open. The two of them couldn't understand why Lin Yi didn't go to Pu Huati for Qinshi but killed them first. According to their assumptions, Lin Yi would be in a hurry to find Qinshi, and as the third party who lost Qinshi to Pu Huati, it should be easy for them to get away from this. But reality and ideals were different. Lin Yi didn't give them a chance to explain at all. He killed them with lightning speed. Of course, the reason why Lin Yi was so ruthless was because Boss Zhu had bitten Qinshi with a poisonous snake, so Lin Yi didn't have a single good impression of Boss Zhu and his men. But most importantly, Lin Yi was killing the chicken to warn the monkey. Because Lin Yi had a cheat, he could see the strength of Pu Huati's bodyguards. And because of this cheat, Lin Yi felt that Pu Huati would be hard to deal with, so he didn't want to be his enemy if he could. So Boss Zhu's men didn't die in vain. They thought that Lin Yi would have a conflict with the gambling king of Southeast Asia, Pu Huati, but Lin Yi didn't. Even Zhao Guangyin and Old Man Zhao thought that Lin Yi would directly make a move on Pu Huati. Under normal circumstances, what kind of strength could a gambling king have? Even if he had a bodyguard, it couldn't be too strong. Gambling Bro's daughter's bodyguard was only a golden class master, so they thought that Lin Yi wouldn't be afraid of anything. Old Man Zhao also wanted to use this point to make Lin Yi make a move on Pu Huati so that he could kill him with a borrowed knife. But now the person was killed, but it was just borrowing Lin Yi's knife to kill the hidden Zhao family's people. After getting rid of the two practitioners, Lin Yi acted as if nothing had happened. He turned to look at Pu Huati and smiled. "Mr. Pu, where's that girl called Qinshi? She's my friend, I hope you can let me take her away." Pu Huati frowned and began to guess Lin Yi's true strength. Chapter 2364. A practitioner with this kind of strength was most likely from a hidden house, or from the ancient times. Pu Huati didn't want to provoke these kinds of people, and usually chose to avoid them. It wasn't that Pu Huati was afraid of them, it was just that Pu Huati's roots weren't here. He was the gambling king and he didn't want to cause trouble. Before he left, his master had told him that there were many hidden masters here, and it was best not to make enemies. But Pu Huati didn't want to make enemies, it was because he couldn't let go of Chen Shi. Pu Huati had a secret. To outsiders he was seen as a perverted ability user, but he himself knew that he wasn't an ability user, but a demonic cultivator. What he cultivated was different from ordinary cultivators. His master was once the subordinate of a very powerful elder in Miaojiang. That elder was once a demonic cultivator who used to refine venomous insects to achieve the goal of cultivation. However, that elder was killed by someone. His master endured the humiliation and hid for many years. Finally, he found an opportunity to successfully escape to Southeast Asia. He established his own sect and founded a new sect, the Right Miao sect. The people in this sect all practiced a type of goo poison, but the information his master got wasn't very complete, and there were many flaws. Most of the people who practiced this poison died, and only Pu Huati succeeded. But in order for the poison to grow stronger, he needed virgin blood to refine it. So, he wasn't a pervert, but he had a secret that he couldn't tell others. Once this kind of poison was mastered, it would be invulnerable to weapons and fire. Although it wouldn't reach the level of the ancestral master elder, it would still be able to reach half of the level. Even so, it was enough to compete with those who mastered the golden cover and iron shirt. And Pu Huati, who had countless women under his belt, immediately saw what was special about Qin Shi. Qin Shi wasn't an ordinary girl, but a first-rate cultivation cauldron. This type of cauldron wasn't like those ordinary girls who only had an effect when they slept together for the first time. Qin Shi could provide endless help to Pu Huati's cultivation. So, even if it meant offending Lin Yi, Pu Huati had to get Qin Shi. Even if he had to hide in Southeast Asia and never come out, he wouldn't let go of this golden opportunity. Of course, his superficial identity as a mutant was also a disguise to cover up his true identity as a demonic cultivator. As for his identity as the gambling king, it was just a disguise. It was just to make it easier for him to find some girls that he treated as cultivation resources. In fact, the reason why he could become the gambling king was very simple. He could control a type of insect called the iron ear insect. Although this insect was very difficult to refine and only his master could refine it, Pu Huati was able to use it. The so-called iron ear goo was a type of goo that could fly. It was very small in size and would fly in the air. It was distributed in a radius of 10 meters or even a few hundred meters around Pu Huati. These flying insects were Pu Huati's eyes and ears. Whatever the flying insects saw and heard, they would be transmitted to Pu Huati. Therefore, Pu Huati could become the gambling king because of these goo insects called eye and ear goo. As for the ability, it was just an excuse. But Pu Huati didn't refute the rumor. False could be true, sometimes true could be false. Anyway, it was true and false. As long as he used his identity as the gambling king to continuously find girls to refine his demonic cultivation, it would be fine. I don't care who you are. The casino has the rules of the casino. She is already my trophy. I won't let anyone take her away. Pu Huati quickly made a decision and said faintly, "Please." Lin Yi frowned. He didn't expect that Pu Huati wouldn't give him face even after he killed 2 people. It seemed like he had something to rely on. Because in Lin Yi's opinion, a person who was lustful wouldn't be this desperate. Fighting against a powerful enemy for an ordinary girl wasn't a worthwhile thing. As the gambling king of Southeast Asia, what kind of girl couldn't he find? Was there one more? "Mr. Pu, I don't want to be your enemy. But if you insist on going against me, then I can only use force. Lin Yi's voice became cold. What Pu Huati usually did had nothing to do with Lin Yi. But today he wanted to take Qin Shi away by force. Lin Yi could only take action. Go against me? Do you think you're worthy? Pu Huati smiled coldly. An Earth-class early phase and a Mystic-class late phase peak. 2 ants were killed by you. Do you think that's amazing? Or do you think that you're trying to give me a show of strength? Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. He didn't think that Pu Huati would say something like this after he'd shown his strength. The only possibility was that Pu Huati was very strong. Or he was relying on the Earth-class late phase peak next to him. From the beginning until now, Lin Yi had killed an Earth-class early phase and a Mystic-class late phase peak. But Lin Yi's strength was that of an Earth-class mid-phase. This was probably why Pu Huati was so fearless. If we don't get along, then let's fight. Lin Yi felt a surge of heroism. The black-clothed bodyguard behind Pu Huati was clearly not a normal Earth-class late phase peak. His strength was there, but his chi waves were far stronger than Elder Bai's. He was even stronger than the Earth-class late phase peak 5 guardians. This person was a strong opponent. If Lin Yi were to fight him, it wouldn't be easy for him. So when Lin Yi said that, he also sent a message to Elder Pai and the others. Lin Yi had been using this phone for a long time, and he was very familiar with the controls. He didn't need to look at the screen at all. This was the most basic skill Lin Yi had when he was an assassin. Pu Laolu, go kill him. Pu Huati frowned, not wanting to talk to Lin Yi anymore. Yes. When the black-clothed bodyguard behind Pu Huati heard Pu Huati's words, he immediately moved. At this moment, before the battle even started, the incomparably domineering aura in his body exploded out, reaching its peak. Following that, Pu Laoyo's body pressed down on Lin Yi, his right claw turning light red as well. Lin Yi didn't know what technique it was, but Pu Laolu grabbed at Lin Yi. Suddenly, a wave of pure energy surged towards Lin Yi, and the strong and domineering pressure made Lin Yi's breath catch in his throat. Chapter 2365. Ho! Fiery 8 trigrams palm, 5th form. Lin Yi didn't dare to be careless. He quickly circulated his chi and activated his strongest martial technique. In an instant, red flames accompanied Lin Yi's palms as they flew towards Park Ol 6. Hiss. Park Huati was fine as he watched the fight between Lin Yi and Park Ol 6 expressionlessly. But Gamble Bro, on the other hand, took in a breath of cold air. He was starting to feel uneasy. He was only a peak late phase golden class master, but when Lin Yi and Park Ol 6 used their martial techniques, the formless heat in the air was unbearable for him. This was what it meant when the gods fought, the little devil suffered. When Lin Yi killed the 2 hidden masters from House Zhao, Gamble Bro didn't think much of it. But when Lin Yi used his strongest technique in this small room, Gamble Bro couldn't take the pressure anymore. Mr. Park? Can I leave first? Gamble Bro looked at Park Huati carefully. And? Park Huati snorted. His attention was on Lin Yi and Park Ol 6. And he didn't pay attention to Gamble Bro at all. As for whether Gamble Bro left or not, it didn't matter to him. He was just a small character. After hearing Park Huati's permission, Gamble Bro felt as if he had been pardoned. He quickly ran out of the room, but as soon as he stepped out, he saw the 2 corpses at the door. He shivered and didn't dare to stay any longer. In his opinion, no matter who won or lost, Brother Gamble couldn't afford to provoke them. Therefore it was better for him to leave first. Seeing Lin Yi's technique, Pu Laoyo's eyes flashed with a hint of disbelief. Perhaps he didn't think that Lin Yi, a mid-earth class warrior, would be able to use the 11th technique. It was a technique that only a sky-class warrior could use. Could it be that he was hiding his strength? Pu Laoyo's heart skipped a beat, but he didn't think it was possible. Lin Yi's true chi was clearly at the mid-earth class level. Once he activated the 11th technique, he wouldn't be able to hide his true strength anymore. But the situation in front of him was very strange. Lin Yi had indeed used the strength of an Earth-class middle stage to activate the 11th martial technique that only a Heaven-class early-stage master could use. This was simply unimaginable. However, even so, Pu Laoyo's heart was only shocked for a moment. He wasn't afraid because his martial technique was also a high-grade martial technique. It wasn't the low-grade martial techniques of ordinary hidden families. Now that he had mastered the 10th technique of the sky-splitting claw, he didn't need to be afraid of Lin Yi's fiery 8 trigrams palm's 5th technique. Even though this 5th technique had the power of the 11th technique. The distance between the 2 wasn't far to begin with. In the blink of an eye, the distance between the 2 became smaller and smaller. Lin Yi's palms faced Pu Laoyo's sky-splitting claw. This situation made Pu Laolu a little puzzled. Normally, martial techniques were used with one hand. Could Linny use both hands? This fellow was not just any ordinary kind of strange. In theory, it was not easy to be able to use a martial skill with one hand. Unless it was a martial skill that required both hands to use at the same time, then it could be used with both hands. However, most martial skills were only used with one hand. Only those special people who had studied martial skills thoroughly could use both hands at the same time. Of course, although both hands could be used at the same time, it was only the same type of martial technique. The power would only increase by a little, it couldn't be doubled. So Pu Laolu wasn't very afraid. He only had a strong desire to fight. It had been a long time since he met a true opponent. As a mystic late-phase peak, it wasn't strange for him to fight a heaven-class early-stage master. But when he saw Lin Yi, his eyes flashed with excitement. Because he knew that Lin Yi was someone like him. Someone who could fight a higher-level opponent. Wasn't Lin Yi the same? Lin Yi had been stuck at the bottleneck of Earth-class mid-phase for quite a while now. He'd just broken through at the Hidden House Summit, and it didn't seem like a long time, but he'd gone through quite a bit of training during that time, and was only a step away from Earth-class mid-phase peak. Leveling up during battle was Lin Yi's ultimate weapon. So this time, although Lin Yi felt that his opponent was troublesome, he still made his move. But Lin Yi had a backup plan. Old Pai came to help. A palm and a claw violently collided with each other. A dull sound of impact suddenly rang out from the point of contact between the fist and the claw. With this point as the origin, a raging wave of true energy rippled out rapidly in all directions. But Pu Huatiai's face didn't change as he sat in front of the gambling table. He wasn't affected at all by the chi from the fight. It was as if all of this had nothing to do with him. In reality, this really had nothing to do with Pu Huati. He trained in a type of King Kong goo poison. Although he hadn't mastered it yet, this level of chi didn't affect him at all. Boom. Lin Yi's other palm landed on Pu Laolu's chest. It made a muffled sound, but Pu Laolu didn't seem to be hurt at all. His body shook slightly, and he took on Lin Yi's fiery 8-trigram palm head-on. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was injured by the chi from Pu Huatiai's unknown skill. Lin Yi took a few steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood, a cultivator of both internal and external strength. Lin Yi looked at Pu Laolu in disbelief. He didn't expect Pu Laolu to be a cultivator of both internal and external strength. And it seemed like his external strength training focused on defense, similar to the Golden Clock faction's defensive skills. Smart. Pu Laolu was hit by the fifth form of the Fire 8-trigram palm as well, but he was a practitioner of both internal and external disciplines. The clash of pure chi did cause some damage to him, but his meridians and organs weren't damaged at all. He was only shaken up a little. Does your external martial arts have a high defensive attribute? After falling to the ground, Lin Yi didn't rush to get up. Instead, he quickly used the art of dragon mastery to heal his internal injuries. He was just stalling for time. Not bad. Pu Laolu nodded. You're also the first low-level cultivator to survive under my hands. Chapter 2366. You are indeed strong. Lin Yi did not deny it. But I will not give up. Stupid. Pu Laolu sneered. Fine, I didn't want to kill you, but since you want to ruin Mr. Park's plan, I can only send you to hell. Lin Yi's expression changed slightly. His opponent's strength was almost a notch higher than his. If he still had the Vulcan bullets, Lin Yi would have a 100% chance of winning. Unfortunately, he had used 2 Vulcan bullets on the guard and 1 on Tagan Dragon. Now he could only fight head-on. Although a head-on collision was the most disadvantageous way for Lin Yi had no other choice. Mystic class was a competition of strength, while Earth class was a competition of the strength of martial arts. Only Sky class masters could infuse their true chi into their weapons, and at Earth class, using weapons would be a burden. Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm 5th form. Lin Yi once again activated the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm, but this time Lin Yi's target was Pu Laolu's head. He was looking for a weakness, hoping that his head would be his weakness. However, the disdain in Pu Laolu's eyes made Lin Yi understand that his head was not a weakness. This person was the same as Ma Zhu, a physical practitioner with high defense. It was not easy to find a weakness from head to toe. Especially since this person had practiced internal martial arts and became a master of internal martial arts that could attack, it was even more difficult to deal with. So, in an instant Lin Yi made a decision. As the saying goes, to capture all the followers one must first capture the ringleader. Lin Yi might as well not attack Pu Laolu. Since his attacks were useless, he might as well leave his back for him to attack. Meanwhile, Lin Yi shifted his target to Pu Huati, Suddenly Lin Yi's attack on Park 06 made an inconceivable turn in the air, and both of his palms suddenly attacked Park Ho-T, who was sitting beside the gambling table. When Lin Yi was an assassin, he had learned a kind of footwork. When he used it, he was faster than ordinary cultivators. This footwork could also make some seemingly unimaginable moves, such as now. Neither Park 06 nor Park Ho-T expected Lin Yi to suddenly turn around and target Park Ho-T. Boom, boom, bang. Lin Yi's palms accurately landed on Pu Huati's chest, and Park 06's heaven-splitting earth-splitting claw that was flickering with fiery red true energy also grabbed onto Lin Yi's back. At the same time that Lin Yi hit Park Ho-T, he was also hit by Park 06. A mouthful of blood sprayed on the gambling table, dyeing the poker cards red. However, what made Lin Yi feel inconceivable was that Park Ho-T did not dodge or dodge. Instead, he took on Lin Yi's move with an indifferent expression on his face. Because of Lin Yi's speed, Park Ho-T definitely could not dodge. Even if he was an early-stage heaven stage expert, he would definitely not be able to dodge Lin Yi's sudden change of move. After all, the private room was too small. But even if he could not dodge, it did not mean that he could not dodge and avoid the important parts. However, Park Ho-T did not dodge. He used his chest to take on the fifth form of Lin Yi's Mad Fire 8 Trigram Palm. After receiving the move, his expression was still indifferent, as if the person that Lin Yi just hit was not him at all. You are also a physical cultivator? Lin Yi was shocked. A trace of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Park 06 was a physical cultivator with high defense. This was already very shocking to Lin Yi, but he did not expect Park Ho-T to be the same. However, Lin Yi still could not clearly see Park Ho-T's level of strength. Although Lin Yi's golden finger could not directly see the level of a physical cultivator's strength, when a physical cultivator used an external mental cultivation technique to defend or attack, they would use the surrounding spiritual energy to transform into true chi around their body. At this time, Lin Yi could determine their level of strength. Because of this, when Park 06 was defending, Lin Yi knew that he was a physical and external cultivator. However, Park Ho-T did not. Lin Yi could not even see his level. Lin Yi only had a feeling that he was a cultivator, but he did not know the specifics of what he practiced and what level of strength he had. Park Ho-T did not answer Lin Yi's question. Instead, he looked at Lin Yi and said, "You are not weak. I do not want to be enemies with the practitioners on your side. Now turn around and leave, I will not stop you." Although Park Ho-T was not injured, he could feel that Lin Yi was not an ordinary person. He was only a mid-earth class practitioner, but he was able to raise his martial technique to the 11th form of the Sky class early stage. This was definitely not some random wandering practitioner. Therefore, Park Ho-T guessed that Lin Yi's background was not that simple. He must have the support of an ancient sect or some other force. Being enemies with him was not a good thing. According to Park Ho-T's plan, he was prepared to stay in China for a period of time. He would go to various underground casinos and challenge the king of gambling, as well as some arrogant gamblers. This way, he would be able to exchange for the virginity of a few young girls to practice his demonic arts. Because of this, after seeing Lin Yi's strength, he was a bit scared. He did not want to be enemies with Lin Yi. "I also do not want to be enemies with you, but you have captured my friend. I must bring her back or else I will not rest until I die." Lin Yi did not back down. "Do you really think that I am afraid of you?" Park Ho-T frowned and said lightly, "I am just a bit afraid of trouble. Since you are so stubborn, then don't blame me for being impolite." Park 06 continue. "Kid, Mr. Park will let you live. Don't be so ungrateful." Park 06 said coldly, "You can't beat me. Although I have to admit that your martial technique is very powerful, it can only give me a small injury. If you want to hurt me, you can't even use 100 moves. So you are saying that I can't do anything to you? No matter how powerful my martial technique is, it will be useless?" Lin Yi asked. "Kid, if I don't tell you, I am afraid that you will not give up. To be honest, my internal and external martial techniques complement each other. In this world, unless it is someone who is a lot stronger than me, such as Sky Class Mid-Stage and above, anyone under Sky Class Mid-Stage and below is not much of a threat to me." Park 06 said proudly, "The bane of my external martial techniques is actually my internal martial techniques. Only my internal martial techniques can break through my external martial techniques." Chapter 2367. Lin Yi held back his excitement at the thought, but his face remained expressionless. He didn't think that old Six would reveal his secret. Originally, Lin Yi only wanted to get some information out of Pu Laolu to buy some time, then compress a true energy bomb and throw it at him. However, the compressed true energy bomb did not have enough time. Most importantly, if Lin Yi could secretly learn Pu Laoyou's martial arts technique, it would be much easier than compressing the true energy bomb. Compressing the true energy bomb was not something that could be completed in a short period of time. You can say that. This martial arts technique was destroyed by me after I obtained it. As far as I know, no one else has it. Pu Laolu said calmly, so I advise you not to waste your time. The reason why Pu Laolu told Lin Yi the truth was that he did not think that Lin Yi could learn his martial arts technique. Even if Lin Yi could get his hands on his martial arts technique through special means, it would take a long time. Moreover, his martial arts technique was unique. It was impossible for Lin Yi to get his hands on it. In short, he was not afraid that Lin Yi would use this martial arts technique against him. However, he did not expect Lin Yi to steal it. Is that so? Let's try again. Lin Yi said as he activated the fifth style of Frenzy 8 trigram palm and went straight for Pu Laolu. Boom, boom, bang. It was still a head-on collision. Lin Yi ended the battle by retreating. However, Lin Yi's mind was not on the result. Instead, he carefully observed Pu Laoyou's method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw. Lin Yi didn't know the chant for sky splitting earth splitting claw, and there was no way he could ask for it. So, he could only imitate the activation method of sky splitting earth splitting claw, just like how he combined Fire Fist and 5-element 8 trigram palms, using Fire Fist chant and sky splitting earth splitting claws activation method to create a new technique. After landing, Lin Yi did not stand up immediately. Instead, he closed his eyes and repeatedly replayed the method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw in his mind. Park Laoyou's movements were like a slow-motion movie, playing over and over again in Lin Yi's mind. Because of his previous experience of combining the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm and Mu Linsen 8 trigram palm, Lin Yi did not spend too much time combining the new martial arts technique. Moreover, the current situation did not allow him to waste too much time. Brat, are you still not going to give up? Park Laolu asked coldly. Oh. Lin Yi stood up slowly. When he was combining the heaven and earth splitting claw in his mind, Lin Yi's body was not idle. He had been using the second stage of the art of dragon mastery to heal his injuries. Therefore, Lin Yi's injuries were much better now. What? Park Laolu was stunned. He did not understand Lin Yi's meaning. It's the fifth form of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. Lin Yi used the mantra of the fifth form of the Frenzy Fire Fist and changed the method of activating the heaven and earth splitting claw. As for the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm, it was just to confuse Park Laolu. You're overestimating yourself. Pu Laoyou's eyes flashed with disdain at Lin Yi's move and he himphed coldly. He didn't attack Lin Yi, however, and just stood there helplessly. His meaning was clear. Fight if you want to, let's see what you can do about it. Park Laolu, be careful. Pu Huatiai's originally calm face suddenly revealed a trace of disbelief as he suddenly called out to Pu Laolu. Huh. Park Laolu was stunned, but it was too late. Lin Yi's heaven and earth splitting claw was already on Park Laoyou's chest. Pu Laoyou's arrogant face suddenly turned pale, and a look of disbelief flashed in his eyes. Then, his face turned gloomy, and his whole body flew backward, smashing into the wall of the private room with a loud bang. A deep pit was formed on the wall of the private room. Park Laoyou's injury was not light. From the blackish-purple blood that flowed out from the corner of his mouth, it was obvious that he had suffered a serious internal injury. Lin Yi wasn't too surprised. Although the heaven and earth splitting claw was successfully activated, its power was far less than the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. It was only equivalent to the power of the fifth form of the normal Frenzy Fire Fist, which was the sixth form of a normal high-tier martial arts technique. This combination of martial arts did not bring about the effect of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm. However, it was within Lin Yi's expectations. After all, the power of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm was heaven-defying. Park Laoyou's heaven and earth splitting claw could not be said to be outstanding. It was only equivalent to the power of a normal high-tier martial arts technique. Therefore, the power of the combination of Frenzy Fire Fist and heaven and earth splitting claw was equivalent to the power of the sixth form of a normal martial arts technique. This was not out of Lin Yi's expectations. However, Park Laolu stood there without any defense or attack and let Lin Yi hit him. This was out of Lin Yi's expectations. Isn't this guy a little too arrogant just to make me give up? Therefore, when Park Laolu was caught off guard, Lin Yi's attack landed on his body. Even though it was only the sixth form, the heaven and earth splitting claw seemed to be a martial arts technique that was specifically used to counter Park Laolu. The damage it brought was much greater than the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm. How is this possible? Park Laolu coughed up 4 mouthfuls of blood before he stood up shakily. He could not believe what he saw. How can you activate the heaven and earth splitting claw? Who did you learn it from? You. Once Lin Yi finished speaking, he did not wait for Park Laolu to regain his footing. He used the 5th form of the heaven and earth splitting claw again. This time Park Laolu saw Lin Yi's move clearly. Previously he took it for granted that Lin Yi used the Frenzy Fire 8 trigram palm, so he did not guard against it at all. It was not until Park Hwati reminded him that he realized something was wrong, but it was too late. But this time when Lin Yi made his move he saw it clearly. It was the heaven and earth splitting claw. Although he did not know how Lin Yi learned it, the activation method and movement were exactly the same as his. Moreover, the claw had a red fire attribute True Chi, as if he was the one who activated it. Park Laolu was shocked. Others did not know the extent of the damage that the heaven and earth splitting claw could do to him, but he knew. Even if Lin Yi activated the 6th form, the damage to him was still very great. Park Laolu could be sure that if Lin Yi continued to activate it, he would not be able to last more than 5 moves. The heaven and earth splitting claw was his nemesis. As the saying goes, everything has its weakness. Chapter 2368. Aren't you teaching me? Once you activate it, I'll learn it. Lin Yi said lightly, thank you for activating it again. I'm even more proficient now. Go to hell. Bang. Bang. Lin Yi hit Park Laolu and Park Laolu hit Lin Yi. Although Park Laolu's skill seemed to be stronger, the damage he suffered was no less than Lin Yi. Especially when he was caught off guard by the claw just now, it was a huge blow to his body. Moreover, Lin Yi's last sentence made Park Laolu subconsciously reduce the power of the sky-splitting claw. He didn't want Lin Yi to learn it again. Now that it was very similar, wouldn't it kill him to learn it again? Both of them retreated. Lin Yi sat on the ground and Park Laolu slammed into the wall again. Park Hwati's brows furrowed even more. The way he looked at Lin Yi changed from the initial disdain to the current seriousness. Where did this person come from? Which faction is he from? He can actually imitate other people's skills? Isn't this too heaven-defying? I've never heard of someone with this kind of ability. Park Laolu's eyes were filled with fear at this moment. He no longer had the arrogance from before, only bewilderment. He couldn't believe it. How is this possible? Lin Yi was actually beaten badly, but he didn't show the pain on his face. This was the so-called acting tough behavior of swallowing one's teeth after being beaten. But sometimes acting tough must be done. When the enemy is confused by you, you win. This is the highest level of acting tough. Lin Yi was recovering, Park Laolu was bewildered, and Park Hwati was frowning, thinking about the pros and cons. Park Hwati originally thought that things should be easy to solve. Lin Yi retreating was the perfect solution, but the situation was completely different now. Lin Yi's 2 consecutive moves had injured Pu Laolu quite badly. If they were to continue fighting, it was hard to say who would emerge victorious. It was very likely that both of them would perish together. But, to let Pu Hwati give up on Qinshi just like that, he was absolutely unwilling. It wouldn't be easy to find such a good cauldron if he gave it up. There were simply too few women with such an excellent physique who had been specially raised to be a human furnace from a young age. Pu Hwati had seen many talented girls, but because they were past the age limit, they could no longer be cultivated into cultivation furnaces. This was also the reason why he didn't want to give up on Qinshi and chose to go against Lin Yi. Pu Laolu, finish him quickly. Even if you have to fight him head-on, you have to kill him. That girl is of great use to me. Pu Hwati made his decision in an instant. Even if you die, you will die for the glory of the right Miao clan. Your ranking will be enshrined by the right Miao clan. I will also request for your son to be accepted as a disciple when he grows up. At the very least, his status will not be lower than mine. Pu Hwati began to make empty promises to Pu Laolu. He had already given up on Pu Laolu. However, these words made Pu Laolu's eyes light up. He had to admit that Pu Hwati's promises moved him. He knew that if he and Pu Hwati didn't hand over Qinshi today, Lin Yi wouldn't let the matter rest. But Pu Laolu also knew how important Qinshi was to Pu Hwati, so he knew that the only way was to fight. Kid, you heard it too. If you know what's good for you, leave now and we'll live in peace. If you insist on sticking your neck out, then I'll fight to the death and drag you down with me. Pu Laolu took a deep breath and said to Lin Yi. Of course, he also hoped that Lin Yi would give up and leave. That way he wouldn't have to die in vain. Although he wasn't afraid of death for the sect, who would want to die if they could. Since I said I won't stop until one of us dies, let's continue. Lin Yi stood up and smiled at Pu Laolu. What if the one who dies in the end is you and not me? No? That's possible. Pu 6 vehemently rejected the idea. I have to admit that your ability to steal and learn from me is impressive. But you can't deny the fact that you're just a mid-earth class. You're just a mid-earth class. It's impossible for a martial skill to unleash the power of the 11th move. If I'm not wrong, it should only be the 6th move. And I'm an earth class late phase peak master. My strength and endurance as well as the power of my martial skills are far greater. As for you, if we continue like this, you'll be the one to die first. Although, I might also be heavily injured. Oh, what else do you have to say? Lin Yi listened and said faintly, if you're done, let's continue. At this point, Pu Laolu also knew that there was no way he could convince Lin Yi. He could only continue. Heaven-splitting Fire Claw, 5th form. Lin Yi's injuries and stamina were almost fully recovered. He activated another heaven-splitting Fire Claw, going straight for Pu Laolu, catching him off guard. He didn't think that Lin Yi would attack just like that, but Pu Laolu was an Earth-class late-phase peak master after all. His reflexes weren't weak either, and he quickly channeled his practitioner's chant. He didn't even use his chi to protect his body. Instead, he poured all of his chi into his technique, activating his strongest technique, Sky-Splitting Claw 10th form. Bam! Bam! 2 loud sounds rang out. The 2 bodies collided and separated, flying in 2 different directions. Pu Laolu was severely injured. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, he panted heavily. Although he had boasted before, only he knew in his heart how much damage the Sky-Splitting Claw had inflicted on him. This martial skill was the nemesis of his external martial arts. Not to mention the fact that Lin Yi had activated the 6th form, as long as he hadn't reached Sky Class, even the 1st form would be enough to kill him. Only when he reached Sky Class would the damage from the 10 forms of Earth Class martial skills be truly negligible. Unfortunately, he wasn't a Sky Class master. Of course, Lin Yi wasn't having a good time either. After spitting out a mouthful of black blood, he gritted his teeth and silently endured it. After landing on the ground, he desperately channeled the 2nd stage of the Art of Dragon Mastery to heal himself. He didn't say anything harsh. He just used all the time he had to heal himself. This kind of feeling made Lin Yi a little scared. If Pu Laolu didn't give Lin Yi any time to recover, then Lin Yi would only be able to take a one-sided beating. Just like when he faced the 5th Guardian, he could only... Chapter 2369. From his point of view, cultivators could only use medicinal pellets to heal themselves. Otherwise, how long would it take for them to recover on their own? His injuries couldn't be healed, so he could only adjust the chaotic chi in his body so that he could fight against Lin Yi with all his might. With that, Lin Yi was able to take advantage of the situation. Otherwise, he'd have to waste another net of heaven and earth to trap old 6. Then, while he couldn't move, he would go to the private room to save Qin Shi. As for Pu Huoti, Lin Yi didn't put him in his heart. From Lin Yi's point of view, Pu Huoti was just a cultivator with high defense. As for whether it was a spiritual or physical cultivator, Lin Yi wasn't sure. But he definitely didn't have a strong offensive ability. Otherwise, if he and Pu Laolu worked together, even if their offensive ability wasn't that strong, it would still be enough to hold him back. Then Pu Laolu wouldn't be in such a miserable state. But from the looks of it, it wasn't that he didn't want to, but he really couldn't help. This person only had the ability to protect himself, but he didn't have any offensive ability. Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw 5th form. Lin Yi attacked once more after recovering, continuing to fight head-on with Pu Laolu. It wasn't the first time Lin Yi used this sort of head-on fighting style anyways, and he'd mastered the rhythm and technique a long time ago. The black-clothed assassin and the 3rd head of the Red Conches had all died under Lin Yi's hands. Of course, this method of using a lower level to kill a higher level was only used by people like Lin Yi who had the Art of Dragon Mastery. If it was someone else, they would have died already. But one had to admit that this method was tried and tested. Because the enemy wouldn't expect Lin Yi to be able to recover on his own, and at such a fast speed. Bang! Bang! Another 2 loud sounds. Pu Laolu felt that his internal organs had shifted. Even those that weren't shifted started to bleed. He looked at Lin Yi with a blurry gaze. He regretted telling Lin Yi about his nemesis martial art. But who would have thought that Lin Yi could learn it secretly? Before today, Park Laolu had never dreamed of this. Without the mantra, how could he learn a martial skill in secret? This could only be treated as a joke, but now it was real. Seeing that Lin Yi had vomited a mouthful of blood, Pu Laolu was secretly pleased. Sure enough, this brat's injuries should be more serious than his. He had already spat out 2 mouthfuls of black blood. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels had already been displaced, and Lin Yi would not be any better off. Park Laolu was even more determined to kill Lin Yi, although it was possible for him to do the same. His meridians were all damaged and his cultivation strength was crippled. However, if he could survive and return to the right Miao clan, he would be able to survive. Then sect leader Kun would definitely let him cultivate Pu Huatiai's devil arts. This was because Pu Huatiai's devil technique was a different kind of cultivation method, which was to refine goo poison. It had nothing to do with normal cultivation. Even a disabled person could cultivate it. Thinking of this, Park Laoyo's eyes flashed with passion. Others might not know, but he knew that if Pu Huatiai's devil technique reached the advanced stage, he would be invulnerable. He would be no different from those who had reached the advanced stage of the Golden Bell Shield and Iron Shirt. Furthermore, he would not have any weak points. He would have to use the female blood to refine it regularly. This was a difficult matter, but it could be solved. In the future, Pu Huati would have the meat and he would have the soup. The effect would be slightly weaker, but it was better than nothing. Brat, I will kill you today even if I have to risk my life. Park Laolu stood up with confidence and looked at Lin Yi. If you want to die, then come at me. Let's see who has the last laugh. Lin Yi's injuries had mostly recovered. He responded indifferently and stood up. Although his expression was calm, Lin Yi's heart was beating like a drum. Park Laoyo's confidence seemed to have been boosted. This wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Taking a deep breath, Lin Yi decided to change his strategy. He changed the Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw's fifth form was equivalent to the fifth form of a normal high-class technique, but it was better in that he could use 5 forms at the same time. In the beginning, Lin Yi naturally chose Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Although the fifth form of Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw was equivalent to the fifth form of a normal high-class technique, it was better in that he could use 5 forms at the same time. It could be said that if Park Laolu wasn't injured, Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw would definitely deal more damage to him than Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. This was like an early phase Mystic Class Master. If he wasn't injured, then an early phase Golden Class Master would only be able to scratch his itch. If 5 early phase Golden Class Masters were to attack him, then it would be the same. Only a peak late phase Golden Class Master might be able to cause some damage to him. But if this early phase Mystic Class Master was injured, his defense would be greatly reduced. If a late phase Golden Class Master were to attack him, he would definitely be more heavily injured. But if 5 early phase Golden Class Masters were to attack him at once, then he might very well die. This was also the reason why Lin Yi chose Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw in the first place. But now that Park Laolu was injured, Lin Yi naturally switched to Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw. Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw, 5th form. Lin Yi yelled as he charged forward, channeling Mu Linsen's Thousand Illusions chant, using the Sky Splitting Earth Claw's method of activation. He wanted to use the Sky Splitting Earth Claw's strongest move. But just as Lin Yi was about to use it, Lin Yi was shocked to find that Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Claw wasn't activated. Not to mention the 5th form, even the first form's power wasn't activated. In other words, Lin Yi used a useless move. Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He didn't know what was going on, but he didn't dare to try it again. Without a word, he changed his move and used the 5th form of Frenzy Fire Sky Splitting Earth Claw at Pu Laolu. Luckily, Lin Yi's reaction was fast and he was already familiar with this move. There was a pause in the middle, but it didn't affect the overall situation. Old Six didn't understand why Lin Yi had yelled out, Mu Linsen Sky Splitting Earth Splitting Claw, but he didn't have the time to think about it. He took a deep breath and charged forward. Since he had chosen to fight to the end, he couldn't compromise no matter what. But the price of not compromising was very heavy. Proportion. Chapter 2370. Translator. Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. After this fight, Pu Laolu was on the verge of collapsing. His legs were wobbly and he had vomited too much blood. He wanted to rest, but he heard Lin Yi say, "Again." Pu Laolu was speechless. He wanted to yell at Lin Yi, "Fuck, are you a cockroach? Can't you just rest for a bit? You're an Earth class mid-phase, why aren't you dead yet? Are you even an Earth class mid-phase?" In fact, Lin Yi had indeed rested for a while. He needed to heal his wounds. But this period of time seemed long to Lin Yi, but to Pu Laolu it was very short. His wounds were getting worse and worse and Lin Yi's wounds were getting worse and worse, but he was still able to hold on. Of course, Lin Yi could tell that if this went on he would be done for. But before he was done for, Pu Laolu would be done for. As long as he was done for, Lin Yi could rest in peace and heal his wounds. Left with no choice, Pu Laolu could only attack again. But he was already at his limit. He knew that this would be his last attack. If he got hit by Lin Yi again, he wouldn't be able to live. And so, he used up all the chi in his body, wanting to give Lin Yi a killing blow. Sky-splitting Earth Claw, 10th form. Sky-splitting Claw, 5th form. Lin Yi really wanted to use the 5th form of Mu Linsun's Sky-splitting Earth-splitting Claw, but it had failed. So Lin Yi didn't dare to try again. What if he failed again? Right now Lin Yi had lost the confidence he had in his omnipotent martial skill. After all, he had failed to use Spring Rain before. It wasn't surprising that Mu Linsun's Sky-splitting Claw would fail. But Lin Yi was a little puzzled. He couldn't figure out the reason. Bam. Bam. This attack was indeed fatal to Lin Yi. Lin Yi was injured again. Even though he was healing, he couldn't keep up with his injuries. After being sent flying by Pu Laolu, he landed heavily on the ground. He didn't even have the strength to get up. The reason why Lin Yi was able to fight again was because of his will. That was the only reason why he was able to hold on until now. But Lin Yi smiled. Park Laoyo's situation wasn't looking good. Lin Yi was a doctor, and he could easily tell that Park Laoyo's life was slipping away. He was going to die soon. So, Lin Yi started to use the art of dragon mastery to heal himself. He didn't even have the strength to sit up. Pu Huati looked at Pu Laoyo's body. A complicated look flashed in his eyes. Even though he didn't care about a bodyguard like Pu Laolu, he was someone who had followed him for a long time. This time he killed Lin Yi. He had to leave. He couldn't fight Zhu Qisho anymore. He was afraid that the power behind Lin Yi would come looking for him. Thinking of this, Pu Huati quickly walked into the private room. He picked up the unconscious Chen Shi and quickly walked out of the private room. He didn't even want Pu Laoyo's body. A dead person was like a lamp going out. To him, death was death. When he went back, he would advise his father and master to take good care of his son. That would be enough to make up for this debt. Even though Lin Yi was lying on the ground in the space of the jade pendant to heal himself, he could still sense what was happening outside. Seeing that Pu Huati didn't forget to take Chen Shi away at this time, he was shocked and angry. Originally, Lin Yi thought that after he killed Pu Laolu, Pu Huati would definitely choose to retreat and leave with Pu Laoyo's body. But Lin Yi didn't expect that this guy didn't even want Pu Laoyo's body. Instead, he took Chen Shi away. This was unbelievable to Lin Yi. This guy can't be this lecherous, can he? In this situation, he still didn't forget to take Chen Shi away. What kind of person is this? However, even if Lin Yi wanted to stop him, his injuries were too severe. He couldn't get up at all. Moreover, even if Lin Yi stood up, he might not be able to stop him because Pu Huati was simply invulnerable. If Lin Yi wanted to deal with him, it would be more difficult than Pu Laolu. Pu Laolu Lin Yi could use the Mad Fire Earth-splitting claw to deal with him, but Pu Huati was different. This guy wasn't afraid of being hit. Even if Lin Yi hit him, it would be useless. Seeing that Pu Huati was about to walk out of the room, Lin Yi suddenly became anxious. He didn't care about his injuries anymore. He climbed up from the ground and shouted at Pu Huati, "Stop!" Pu Huati was shocked by Lin Yi's roar. Previously he thought that Lin Yi and Pu Laolu should have perished together. After all, both of them were lying on the ground motionless. Pu Huati subconsciously thought that both of them were dead. How could he have thought that Lin Yi came back to life and stood up again? "You didn't die?" Pu Huati was shocked. He turned his head and looked at Lin Yi, who was trembling as he stood up. Pu Huati then smiled, "You're just a strong arrow. What can you do to me? Although you should have guessed that I don't have any offensive martial skills, you absolutely can't stop me from leaving. Because my defense is very strong. You can't kill me. You didn't die. That's not bad. I'll leave first. See you again." In Pu Huati's view, if Lin Yi didn't die, then the sect behind Lin Yi wouldn't be too angry. He also knew that these big sects in China had some top-quality third-grade Dawn. As long as there were Dawn, he believed that Lin Yi's recovery was only a matter of time. The sect behind him wouldn't travel all the way to Southeast Asia to find trouble with him. Although Lin Yi was unwilling, he had no choice but to admit that what Pu Huati said was the truth, because at this moment he really could not win against Pu Huati. This person was invulnerable, just like those external martial artists who practiced the golden bell cover and iron skin shirt. If Lin Yi wanted to make him stay, it was impossible without a true chi bomb. However, in Lin Yi's current state, it was already very difficult for him to heal his wounds. How could there be a true chi bomb to deal with him? Therefore Lin Yi was helpless and anxious, but there was nothing he could do. His injuries hadn't healed yet, so he had to brace himself and fight. Frenzied Flame Heaven-Splitting Earth-Splitting Claw. 5th move. Lin Yi didn't know if the Frenzy Fire Heaven-Splitting Earth Claw would be effective against Pu Huati, but he knew that the 5th form of the Frenzy Fire 8 trigrams palm didn't cause any damage to Pu Huati, so he could only try the Frenzy Fire Heaven-Splitting Earth Claw. When Pu Huati saw that Lin Yi still dared to attack, he was instantly angered. He frowned and activated some unknown cultivation technique. You won't repent until you see the coffin. The fastest update, please bookmark. Chapter 2371. Bam. Lin Yi sensed that something was amiss as Pu Huati seemed to be using some unknown practitioner's arts, but it didn't look like one either. It was like he was activating something, and his skin glowed with a metallic light. Lin Yi's heaven-splitting earth-splitting claw hit Pu Huati's body, but it was as if he'd hit a piece of metal. The recoil was so painful that Lin Yi's claw felt like it was about to break. Plus, he'd used up every last bit of strength he had in that claw attack, and it hadn't hurt Pu Huati in the slightest. Lin Yi couldn't stop Pu Huati from leaving anymore. Lin Yi's head was spinning and he was about to faint from being forced into the jade space. But at that moment the door was pushed open and Elder Pai came charging in with Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, Wu Qintian and Wu Gonggao. Leave him? Lin Yi said as he looked at the 5 people who had barged into the room. His heart was filled with comfort as he fainted. Elder Pai, Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, Wu Qintian, and Wu Gonggao were shocked when they saw Lin Yi faint. But they didn't go check on Lin Yi's injuries, instead activating their strongest skills at the same time, attacking Pu Huati. 11th form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Elder Pai roared, sending a punch at Pu Huati. 1st form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Jishan, Qintian, and Gonggao all used the 1st form of Heaven and Earth Fist they'd been practicing for the past 2 days. 2nd form of Heaven and Earth Fist. Jihai, on the other hand, could use the 2nd form of Heaven and Earth Fist. They used their strongest moves right from the get-go, and they saw that Lin Yi had fainted. Naturally, they wouldn't hold back anymore. Lin Yi's order was to keep this guy here, so they had to go all out. Pu Huati didn't expect that Lin Yi's helpers would come, and there were even 5 of them. However, he wasn't nervous. He didn't believe that ordinary cultivators could do anything to him, so he continued to activate the demonic goo poison, making his body invulnerable. Bang! 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 After 5 loud bangs, Pu Huati was met with tragedy. His head was broken, his chest was flattened, and there was not a single intact bone in his body. The strongest external attacker. Pu Huati finally realized that his death was not unjust. The 5 people who came in later were all physical experts. Moreover, they were all trained physical experts. Their attack power was extremely strong, and coupled with their godly martial skills, it was not an injustice to kill him. Although he trained in demonic arts and had the goo poison on him, he hadn't mastered it yet. Right now, normal sky-class early to mid-phase spiritual practitioners couldn't do anything to him, but that didn't mean that these physical practitioners were useless against him. Spiritual practitioners used chi to hurt the enemy, and physical practitioners used the body to hurt the enemy. The two seemed to have similar destructive power, but spiritual chi couldn't penetrate Pu Huati's body. Iron fists, on the other hand, were different. This was what they meant by, there's always a counter to another. Even one of them was enough to injure him. Not to mention 5 at the same time, this was simply an instant kill. But before he died, he just couldn't figure out why 5 refined external martial arts experts had suddenly appeared. After killing Pu Huati, Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai quickly ran to Lin Yi. "Boss, how are you?" "Boss should be fine." Qintian knew Lin Yi quite well, and he knew that Lin Yi could recover on his own, so he was quite shocked. He waved his hand at the two. "Don't worry, just wait patiently and guard this place. Don't let anyone disturb us." "Okay." Pai Jishan and Pai Jihai replied. "Qintian, my friend, this body? There's another body over there." Elder Pai paused, only realizing that there was another body in the room. No wonder Lin Yi was so heavily injured. He was thinking that there was nothing special about killing that person, just a few people working together to kill him in one hit. Lin Yi shouldn't be so heavily injured. It seemed like Lin Yi had gotten injured while fighting with the others. "Don't worry about it for now." Qintian waved his hand as he looked at Qinshi on the ground. She couldn't be his sister-in-law, could she? She looked a little young, like a high schooler. But Qintian didn't dare tarry. He carefully lifted Qinshi and put her on the sofa, untying her hands and feet. Old Pai and Old Wu nodded. They were older, but they still followed Qintian's orders. After all, Qintian had been with Lin Yi for the longest time. Alright then what should we? Elder Pai asked. Go find the boss here and ask him what's going on. Chintian knew that he couldn't disturb Lin Yi, but if something happened to Lin Yi, the boss would definitely be blamed. He might even know what happened, so the best thing to do was to ask him what happened. Alright, I'll do it. Elder Pai nodded. His admiration for Lin Yi was unparalleled. At first he served Lin Yi because Lin Yi helped Pai Jihai heal. But now, after seeing Lin Yi's power, especially after Lin Yi leveled him up to a master of both internal and external cultivation, his gratitude towards Lin Yi turned into admiration and worship. The world of cultivation was a world where the strong ruled. Elder Pai knew this, especially after seeing the potential and strength that Lin Yi had shown. He knew that if he followed Lin Yi closely, the Hidden House Pai's path would not only stop at the Hidden Noble House level, they might even become an ancient noble house. As long as he, Pai Jishan, and Pai Jihai all became heaven-ranked masters who cultivated both internal and external cultivation, the Holy Fist Palace would be the first to support them and support House Pai to become an ancient aristocratic family in the ancient level meeting. Then Old Master Pai stood up and walked out of the room. There was no one around the room, but at the end of the corridor, there was a waiter who was looking at the situation with shifty eyes. You come here. Old Pai pointed at the waiter. Excuse me, sir, what can I do for you? The waiter was startled and asked carefully in a panic. Where's your boss? Old Pai asked. Our boss? Excuse me, what can I do for you? The waiter asked in a trembling voice. Tell him to appear in front of me in 1 minute, or else I'll smash his place. Old Man Pai was the head of a family. He was usually very dignified, but now that he was Lin Yi's subordinate, he naturally became an arrogant little brother. The fastest update, please bookmark. Chapter 2372. Please wait. The waiter saw Elder Pai walk out of the Sky Room 1, and Gambling Bro had specifically asked him to check the room carefully and report back if anything happened. The waiter didn't dare to delay, so he relayed Elder Pai's request to Gambling Bro. Boss, someone wants to see you. The person who came out of the Sky Room 1. He said that if you don't show up in a minute, he'll destroy our place. Oh. Gamble Bro frowned, displeased at the arrogance of the newcomer. But thinking back to the Earth-class strength that Lin Yi and Pu Laolu had displayed in the room, he knew that he, a mere golden-class late-phase peak, was no match for them at all. He couldn't fight against the person who came out of the room, whether it was Lin Yi or Pu Laolu. He thought about it and said, Okay, I'll go now. Within a minute, Gambling Bro appeared in front of Elder Pai. I'm the boss here, people call me Gambling Bro. Who's looking for me? Gambling Bro looked around, but he didn't see Lin Yi, Pu Laolu, and Pu Huati. He wasn't that scared anymore, so he looked at Elder Pai and said calmly, What's going on in that room? Elder Pai pointed at the Sky Room 1 not far away. Who are you? Gambling Bro asked. You're not going to tell me? Old Man Pai furrowed his brows, a little annoyed. This boss didn't know how to appreciate favors. He casually clenched his fist, and with a punch, a bronze statue in the hallway was smashed into pieces. This was the most effective way. Old Pai didn't know that Gambling Bro was a practitioner, so he didn't bother to explain anything about Sky-class masters or hidden houses. From Old Pai's point of view, Gambling Bro didn't know much about these higher-level things. He was just a casino owner who had a good reputation in the underworld. So, Old Man Pai smashed the statue with one punch to shock Bro Gamble. But Gamble Bro's eyes showed shock. He was a cultivator, and although he was only at the peak late phase of Golden Class, he could see the depth of Old Pai's strength. Old Pai was a Sky-class early phase master. This made Gambling Bro's legs go soft and he almost knelt down. Senior, I had eyes but failed to recognize MT Tai. So Senior is a heaven-rank initial phase expert. If you have anything to say, please don't hesitate to tell me. I, Gambling Bro, will tell you everything I know. Humph. Old Pai snorted, a little surprised. You're a cultivator too? I'm just a master at the peak of the late phase of the Golden Class. Gambling Bro cupped his fist and said carefully. Oh, then come with me. Tell me clearly what happened in this box. Old Man Pai heard that Gambling Bro was also a cultivator. It saved him a lot of trouble. At least he didn't have to threaten him, he would cooperate obediently. Yes. Gambling Bro didn't dare to delay at all. He nodded, but he was shocked. His little casino had such a master? Sky class. That was a legendary existence, and he didn't expect to see one with his own eyes. Gambling Bro followed Old Pai back to the box, and what he saw shocked him. Pu Huati was dead, Pu Laolu was dead, and Lin Yi seemed to be dead as well. Which side were these people from? Could it be the Hidden House Zhao? That's right, I heard that the Hidden Zhao family's old master Zhao is a heaven rank expert. It seems like the 5 people in front of me are from a third party. Gambling Brother heaved a sigh of relief and probed, Senior, is the Hidden Zhao family's old master Zhao? You know about the Hidden House Zhao? Old Pai frowned. I'm not from House Zhao. Don't try to use connections. Tell me everything you know. This? Yes. Brother Gamble was slightly taken aback. From the looks of it, this person in front of him really wasn't from the Hidden Zhao family. Moreover, from his tone, he didn't seem to be very respectful towards the Hidden Zhao family. Hence, he didn't dare to have any more suspicions and hurriedly explained everything that had happened here. Actually, this had nothing to do with him. He invited Southeast Asia's king of gambling, Pu Huati, to fight Hong Kong's king of gambling, Zhu Qishou. The reason was very simple. In the past, Zhu Qishou had come to the casino to wreak havoc, causing Gambling Bro to suffer heavy losses. Zhu Qishou had killed all the consultants in Gambling Bro's casino, causing him to suffer a crushing defeat. Therefore, Gambling Bro was unwilling to accept this outcome. Coincidentally, he heard of Park Huati's name and invited him to challenge Zhu Qishou. Pu Huati wanted to win the girl's virginity through gambling, and Gambling Bro wanted to revive the casino's reputation, and also to rub down Zhu Qishou's spirit. So the two of them hit it off. But in the end, the two of them were in a cooperative relationship and there was no other relationship. Pu Huati's opponent this time was the Hidden House Zhao, and the Hidden House Zhao's people seemed to want to lose to Pu Huati on purpose. They made Qinshi lose to Pu Huati. Not only that, but they also asked Gambling Bro to inform the security on the first and second floor, so that Linny could come over smoothly. Anyway, Gambling Bro didn't dare to hide anything. The person in front of him was a heaven-class master. He even dared to betray the Hidden House Zhao, so he didn't dare to lie. He was a practitioner at the lowest level. If Old Pai wanted to kill him, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. You mean the Hidden House Zhao wanted to make this girl lose to Pu Huati on purpose, and then lure Mr. Lin here to save her? Old Pai understood what Gambling Bro meant. It should be like this. Gambling Bro said carefully. I understand. Okay, you can leave first. There's nothing for you to do here. Old Pai waved his hand and said to Gambling Bro. This matter really didn't have much to do with Gambling Bro, so Old Pai wouldn't vent his anger on him. He was just a small character. The Hidden House Zhao was behind all of this. Everything would have to wait for Lin Yi to wake up, and then let Lin Yi make the decision. Okay, Senior, if there's anything you can find me anytime. Gambling Bro said carefully. Okay. Old Pai snorted and no longer cared about Gambling Bro. In his eyes, this kind of person was just an ant. He directly kicked him out so that he wouldn't disturb Lin Yi's recovery. Although Lin Yi seemed to be unconscious, he was actually healing inside the space of the jade pendant. He could still clearly sense everything that happened outside. Hearing the conversation between Old Pai and Gambling Bro, Lin Yi's hatred towards the Hidden House Zhao increased a bit. Chapter 2373. Capturing Qinshi to give to Pu Huati, trying to get past Pu Huati to get rid of him. Poor Pu Huati, on the other hand, didn't do anything wrong. It was his stubbornness refusing to let go. If he had given up on Qinshi, he wouldn't have been killed by Elder Pai and the others. But it was also because of his bad luck and strength. If it weren't for Elder Pai and the others, Lin Yi wouldn't have been able to stop him today. It was a close shave. Lin Yi naturally wouldn't let it go just like that. The Hidden House Zhao, huh? He'll remember this. Zhao Qikuan, Elder Pai and the others, he'll get Zhao Qikuan to deal with you guys later. On the first floor of the casino, Yushu was playing happily. Oh, I'm genius Shu, I won again. Yushu looked at the combination of patterns on the screen and jumped up and down with her fists raised. Shu, does this count as cheating? Mengyao was a little worried. After all, Yushu was the one who figured out the pattern of the slot tiger and she was basically winning every round. In just a short while, Shu had already won more than 5 million in chips. If this continued, wouldn't the casino lose money? Would there be people coming to cause trouble? Cheating? We didn't cheat, we just figured out the pattern, how is that cheating? Yushu shook her head. It's fine, this is a big casino, can't we afford to lose money? If we can't, our reputation will be ruined. You're right. Mengyao looked at the customers and nodded. If someone really came to stop her and Shu from winning, then the casino's reputation would be ruined. There were a lot of rich people in Donghai, and there were many big bosses who could afford to lose. However, they could lose money but they would never allow people to say that they cheated when they were winning. Can't afford to win? Who would come to play then? Of course, under normal circumstances, the casino wouldn't do such a self-destructive thing. However, it wasn't like no one noticed Shu's continuous winnings. In the casino's surveillance room, there were people who had noticed this a long time ago. When they switched the image to Yushu, they realized that Yushu wasn't cheating at all. It wasn't easy to cheat at a slot machine like this, but it seemed like she had grasped some sort of calculation pattern. However, it wasn't that the casino didn't have any countermeasures. These slot machines were all connected to the internet. As long as they tampered with the control room, they could force the machine's program to not operate according to the conventional calculation method. The final result of human interference was a very simple matter. As a result, Yushu started losing after the surveillance team tampered with her slot machine, and she didn't even manage to win a single round. After all, no matter what she bet on, the people in the surveillance room would interfere with the result, and it'd be fine if the result didn't match Yushu's bet. Why isn't it working? Yushu looked at the slot machine in front of her strangely. She realized that her calculations weren't working. Logically speaking, it wasn't possible. She calculated it based on the results of the slot machine many times. Alright Shu, that's enough. No one can keep winning. Let's just play for a bit. Mengyao didn't know why Yushu's calculations weren't working, but she wasn't very interested in betting on the slot machine. No, there must be something wrong with this machine. I'll try another one. With that, Yushu walked over to another machine with a big box of chips in her hands, starting a new bet. As expected, this time, according to Yushu's calculations, the result was exactly the same. Yushu let out a yay, and started betting again with confidence. However, this time the result was tragic. The result was different from her calculations. Why isn't it working again? Yushu frowned, a little unhappy. Theoretically speaking, if the first calculation was correct, then the next one should work as well, but it just didn't work. Yushu switched to another machine and it worked the first time, but it didn't work the second time. She was a little puzzled. In the surveillance room, the person in charge of the surveillance frowned as well. If Yushu played like this, she could really win once or twice if she switched to a different machine every time. After all, he still needed some time to get the control of the terminal machine. However, Yushu didn't plan to switch to another machine, and the person in charge breathed a sigh of relief. Yushu started studying the machine again, but no matter how she studied or what she bet on, the result would always be different. This result was the result of the person in charge of the surveillance, and Yushu couldn't calculate the pattern at all. What's going on? Yushu panicked as the chips in front of her decreased. She stopped studying the machine's pattern and started studying the machine itself. She walked around the machine and her eyes lit up. There was an internet cable at the back of the machine, and there was an internet cable inserted into it. The data exchange light of the internet cable was blinking. However, only this machine's data exchange light was blinking very frequently. The other tiger bashers didn't flicker this much. Evidently, the tiger pheasant was constantly exchanging data with the server's server. Yushu had learned something like this in her school's computer class, and so she understood the reason why she was losing money right away. Her tiger basher was probably targeted by the person in charge of the server. No matter what she bet, the other side would interfere. Naturally, it was impossible for her to win money. Yushu was angry at the thought. She came here to gamble and she didn't cheat. How dare they interfere? Wasn't this a little too petty? Yushu pulled out the internet cable and continued to bet with a smile on her face. As expected, the result was the same as the display. As expected, Yushu decided to place a higher bet this time. Very quickly, the chips in front of her went from a pitiful 2 million to more than 10 million. At this moment, the surveillance room was in chaos. The person in charge of the surveillance realized that he had lost connection with Yushu's tiger basher. He couldn't control the machine from the terminal, but from the surveillance footage, the tiger basher was still working normally, spitting out large amounts of chips. Chapter 2374. He'd been too focused on Yushu's screen that he hadn't seen her pull out the cable, and so he'd assumed that it was just a problem with the cable. He was sweating profusely from the panic. But he was a professional after all, and after checking for a long time, he realized that all the other machines were working, except for Yushu's machine. He quickly called the boss of the casino, "Casino bro," out of nervousness. "Gamble bro, bad news. There's a problem with one of the slot machines." The man said urgently. "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Gamble bro had just left the Sky Room 1 and was still in shock. He didn't think that it was a big deal when he heard that there was a problem with the slot machine. Can't you get someone to fix it if there's a problem? It's just a slot machine. No, Gamble bro, it's like this. Someone calculated the pattern of the slot machine. The man explained quickly and told Gamble Bro about Yushu's situation. He then said with a sad face, "Now the slot machine suddenly stopped working and I can't change the results of her bets. The machine has already spat out tens of millions of chips, and if this continues we'll lose our money." "What? Why didn't you say so earlier? Motherfucker, I'll bring someone over right now." Gamble Bro sweated when he heard that the slot machine had spat out tens of millions of chips. He quickly called a few security guards over to the surveillance room. Gambler Bro, on the other hand, frowned when he saw Yushu continue to win money in the video. Gamble Bro had been in this casino for many years, and he could tell with one look that Yushu wasn't cheating. She had an extremely high IQ, and had used some kind of exquisite calculation method to calculate the results of the slot machine. But this type of person was also the hardest to deal with in the casino, because there was no way to find any evidence of her cheating. Usually, when someone like this appeared, the casino would take measures to interfere with the results of the slot machine, forcing the expert to back off. If it was a bet with someone else, the casino would hire a gambling consultant to watch the fight. As for Zhu Qisho, he had also come to challenge the casino. Not only did he win against the casino's gambling consultant, but he also won 20 million yuan from Gambling Bro. Although he only got 10 million after the incident, it made Gambling Bro very sullen and disgraced him. After all, Zhu Qisho was the famous king of gamblers in Harbor City. He even had a mystic stage master as his bodyguard. Brother Zhu Qisho didn't dare to use force. Asking for 10 million was already giving him a lot of face. Of course, this was also because Zhu Qisho was an insider and knew to leave some leeway when doing things. This time, Gambling Bro had invited Pu Huati to challenge Zhu Qisho in order to wash away his shame. He didn't expect that Pu Huati would be killed before he could even fight. "Let's go take a look." Gambling Bro looked at the two youthful and beautiful gambling experts on the screen. He was a little confused. Where did these two people come from? If he was the gambling king, why hadn't he heard of him before? But no matter what, Brother Gamble couldn't let her continue to win. If this continued, he would go bankrupt. Because of his daughter's kidnapping, he was blackmailed out of 20 million. Seeing that Yushu was about to win 20 million, he wanted to die. With a few security guards in tow, Gambling Bro went straight to Yushu's slot machine on the first floor. "Yeah, I won again. My chips are over 20 million. Yushu cried out in joy. "Ahem. Shu, we might be in trouble." Mengyao frowned as she reminded Yushu as she looked at the aggressive security guards surrounding them. But Mengyao wasn't too worried. If worst comes to worst, they could just give up the chips and take back the money they lost. The casino wanted money, and with so many customers around, they couldn't be violent. "Oh." Yushu stopped her bet and looked around. She frowned as well. "Beautiful miss, let me introduce myself. I'm the owner of this casino, people call me Gambling Bro." Gambling Bro said directly. "The slot machine in front of you has a malfunction, causing the system to malfunction. It's spitting out chips non-stop, but these don't count." Yushu hesitated. She was usually arrogant and fearless because of Lin Yi, but Lin Yi wasn't there. She wasn't an idiot, and naturally she wouldn't start a fight with this many security guards. But Yushu's eyes lit up as she said arrogantly, "Gambling Bro? You're saying that you can't pay up, so you're trying to find an excuse to say that the slot machine is broken?" "Miss, if that's how you want to interpret it, then there's nothing I can do," Gambling Bro said faintly with a shrug. "But to make up for your losses, I've given each of you a 1 million yuan red packet. Take it and leave." 2 million? Do you think I'm a beggar? I won 20 million. Yushu didn't let it go. Mengyao pulled on Shu's arm, signaling her not to overdo it. "Relax, Yao Yao, Shield Bros here." Yushu whispered into Mengyao's ear. "Oh." Mengyao smiled bitterly. No wonder Shu was so stubborn, she had someone to back her up. Lin Yi was worried about Mengyao and Yushu, and this wasn't the best place to recover his qi. Lin Yi stood up after healing his organs and meridians. As for the qi he'd lost and the other injuries, Lin Yi planned to recover slowly when he got back. "Boss, are you alright?" Chintian had been paying attention to Lin Yi the whole time. He asked when Lin Yi stood up. "Boss." Jishan and Jihai looked at Lin Yi, concerned. "Haha, I'm fine." Lin Yi nodded and stretched his body. "Let's go. Thank you for coming in time and keeping Pu Huati here." "This is Pu Huati?" Chintian asked as he looked at the corpse on the ground. "You know Pu Huati?" Lin Yi was surprised. "Southeast Asia's gambling king, I heard he came to Donghai recently. I didn't expect him to be killed by us." Chintian said casually. "Right boss, the boss from before is here. After all, the forces in Southeast Asia were too far away for Qintian. No matter what, they wouldn't come looking for trouble on a large scale. Even if Pu Huatiai's sect was pissed, there was nothing they could do. Chapter 2375. With that, Linny walked over to Qin Shi's sofa to check on her, but very quickly Linny calmed down. Qin Shi was just drugged with sleeping pills and fainted, nothing serious. Linny carried Qin Shi and nodded to Old Pai and the others, indicating that they could leave together. Linny was carrying a girl, the front of his shirt covered in blood, and behind him were 5 bodyguards. It was a strange combination, but the security guards all lowered their heads, not daring to look at Linny and the others. This was probably the result of Gamble Bro's warning. Naturally, Gamble Bro didn't want to offend this group of people. Any one of them could tear his casino apart, and so Gamble Bro had told the security guards not to do anything. When they reached the first floor, Linny raised an eyebrow when he saw Gamble Bro and a group of security guards surrounding Mengyao and Yushu. Linny didn't think that Mengyao and Yushu would be in trouble. After all, he was here to cause trouble, and no one should be able to link it to Mengyao and Yushu. Could it be that Gamble Bro saw the recording? But that couldn't be. If Gamble Bro knew how powerful they were, why would he dare to make things difficult for them? But when Linny walked closer and heard the conversation between Yushu and Gamble Bro, he understood immediately. So Yushu won some money and Gamble Bro didn't want to honor his winnings. This made Linny think that Gamble Bro was looking for a beating. How much did Yushu win for Gamble Bro to show up personally? Miss, I, Gamble Bro, run a casino and naturally I have the capital to do so. We welcome customers to come here to win money, but do you think you could win that much with 20 million chips in front of you by playing a slot machine? Gamble Bro knew that Yushu had noticed the pattern, but he didn't say so. Instead, he blamed it on the machine malfunctioning. Other customers, take a look. Has anyone won more than 20 million with this slot machine? As soon as Brother Gamble said that, the customers who had some doubts about his behavior now understood, a little. Indeed, those who had played slot machines before knew that it was possible to win a small amount of money with this thing, but to win a lot of money, especially more than 20 million in one go. Was that even possible? It was possible that the slot machine had malfunctioned. Therefore, no one doubted Brother Gamble's words this time. Instead, they felt that Brother Gamble was very benevolent. Logically speaking, if the machine malfunctioned, the chips that they won would be considered invalid. However, Brother Gamble actually took out 2 million as compensation. Was not bad. You know very well whether you can win or not, Yushu said, ignoring Gamble Bro. She waved at someone not far away. Shield Bro. There are people surrounding Shu and Yao Yao sis, come and save us. Linny smiled bitterly and touched his nose, but he still walked towards the crowd. However, when he saw Linny walking over, Gamble Bro felt as if he was shocked by a high-voltage electricity. His whole body was like a wooden chicken. There were 2 reasons why he was shocked. First, wasn't Linny dead? How did he come back to life? Second, behind Linny there was Old Pai and a group of people. These people were following behind Linny. They seemed like Lin Yi's follower. This way Linny stood out, but Gamble Bro was even more afraid. Because Yushu called out Linny, this person just killed Pu Huati and Pu Laolu. He also had a Sky-class follower, this person was unimaginably strong. He couldn't offend him even if he was beaten to death. Gamble Bro wanted to cry. Was money more important or his life more important? If he knew that this girl in front of him was under this guy, he wouldn't have come down to cause trouble. He saw that Linny even dared to kill the hidden house Zhao and Pu Huati. It was obvious that killing Gamble Bro wasn't difficult at all. Is the machine broken? Linny walked over and looked at Gamble Bro. He asked faintly, Old Pai, can you fix it for him? It's not broken. There's no need to fix it. Gamble Bro saw Old Pai take a step forward and walked over. He was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Sky class. Asking a Sky class to fix his machine? It was more like fixing his Gamble Bro. If he still couldn't hear the displeasure in Lin Yi's words, then he would have wasted all his time in this world. If it's not broken, then what are you doing here? Linny asked back. Right, I saw that this lady won a lot of money. I was afraid that someone might rob her, so I brought some security guards to protect her. That's it. Brother Gamble had an idea and quickly said. Is that so? Linny naturally knew that Gamble Bro was talking nonsense. Of course, miss, you can continue to play? Gamble Bro's heart was bleeding. If he continued to play, he would go bankrupt. Forget it, it's boring. Shield Bro, you seem to be hurt? Are you alright? Yushu said, not interested in playing anymore after seeing Lin Yi covered in blood. I'm fine. Let's go home if we don't want to. Lin Yi didn't want to stay in the casino any longer. He wanted to go back and recover his chi as soon as possible. Okay. Yushu too could tell that Lin Yi's injuries weren't light. She stopped playing and turned to Gamble Bro. Convert the chips to cash and transfer them to me. Gamble Bro couldn't help but smile bitterly. Miss, our casino doesn't have that much cash right now. Can you give us a few more days? Gamble Bro's arrogance was gone, and he was now careful. This made the bystanders look at him with disdain. They all understood that Gamble Bro was just a bully before, and now he was afraid of these people. He didn't dare argue with them anymore and could only cash out his chips. But it seemed like he was still trying to cheat. No money? A casino as big as yours doesn't even have 20 million in cash? Yushu naturally didn't believe it. I'm not going to hide it from you. My daughter was kidnapped and I was extorted 20 million yuan by the kidnappers. I really can't come up with so much money in a short time. Do you think you can give me a month? 1 month is enough. Gamble Bro said helplessly. Why was he so unlucky recently? First his daughter was kidnapped, and now he offended a bunch of practitioners including a sky class. Alright, how much money do you have now? Transfer it to me first. Lin Yi believed Gamble Bro's words. He had just seen someone get kidnapped and Ling Shan was also solving the case, so Lin Yi didn't force him. I have 5 or 6 million now. Gamble Bro said gratefully. Then transfer this first. You can give me the rest when you have money. Lin Yi said. Chapter 2376. Okay. Gambling Bro replied quickly. Lin Yi nodded and left the casino with Mengyao, Yushu, and Elder Pai. Gambling Bro let out a breath of relief, but what gave him a headache was what to do with Pu Huati and Pu Laoyo's corpses. How was he going to explain this to Pu Huati's right Miao clan? Gambling Bro's head pounded at the thought. What an unlucky year. After Lin Yi got home, he locked himself in his room and entered the jade space, quickly healing the remaining injuries in his body. The pure chi from heaven and earth surged into his body, and through the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it quickly healed Lin Yi's injured meridians and organs. The injuries this time were very serious, even more serious than when he fought against the bodyguard. When he fought against the bodyguard, Lin Yi wasn't forced into the jade space, but this time, Lin Yi's injuries couldn't be any more serious, and he was forcefully pulled in by the jade space. Just like when he saved Guan Xian, it was an involuntary situation. It was a good thing that the art of dragon mastery could heal the meridians very quickly, so he wasn't too worried. Outside the villa's living room, Mengyao and Yushu were listening to Qintian's recount of what happened in the room. Of course, most of it was from Gambling Bro and Elder Pai, and he didn't see it with his own eyes. He didn't see the dangerous fight between Lin Yi, Pu Huati, and Pu Laolu either, so Gambling Bro didn't know what happened. He only knew the cause and the result, but he didn't know what happened. Even so, Mengyao and Yushu were shaken to the core. They didn't think that their random trip to the casino would turn out to be the right decision, saving Qin Shi. Mengyao and Yushu weren't too familiar with Qin Shi, but they weren't strangers either. They heard that Hidden House Zhao had given her to Pu Huati as a hostage to lure Lin Yi. Both of them were furious. Yao says this Hidden House Zhao is too evil. They want to get someone else to do their dirty work. Shu cursed Zhao Guangyin and Zhao Qibing to be struck by lightning, Yushu said angrily. It's all in the past. Shu, don't worry about it. Lin Yi will take care of it. Mengyao was calmer. Lin Yi was dealing with the Hidden House Zhao. Perhaps he would have to make a move sooner or later, but now was definitely not the time. In the room, Lin Yi's injuries were mostly healed, and he was replenishing the true qi in his body. Soon, the pure spiritual qi in the jade space was converted into true qi by the art of dragon mastery, flowing into Lin Yi's meridians and finally into his dantian. Gradually, the true energy within Lin Yi's body was becoming more and more abundant. However, it showed no signs of stopping as it continued to grow. This feeling immediately made Lin Yi happy. This feeling was all too familiar to Lin Yi. This was the sign before every breakthrough. This feeling was the sign of touching the barrier of the level. Lin Yi didn't dare to be careless at this moment. He gathered his thoughts and focused again, speeding up the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, using it as an opportunity to break through. The pure spiritual qi flowed into Lin Yi's meridians through his meridians through Lin Yi's meridians. Under the conversion of the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, it turned into waves of true qi, circulating in Lin Yi's meridians. It was about to fill his entire body. Lin Yi, on the other hand, gritted his teeth and continued to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. He continued to absorb the pure spiritual chi of heaven and earth. He wanted to break through the barrier in one go. However, it didn't last long. Lin Yi clenched his teeth and persisted for about 15 minutes. The energy was no longer absorbed into his body. No matter how Lin Yi used the chant, he couldn't absorb any more true chi. Sigh. Lin Yi sighed. He knew he couldn't do it anymore. He could only stop and let out a light sigh, feeling a little regretful. This time he was injured, healed, and recovered his true chi. It was a very good opportunity to break through the barrier. Lin Yi had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time, but in the end he still failed. However, Lin Yi didn't want to give up this golden opportunity. After a short rest, he began to use the second stage of the art of dragon mastery again, trying to break through for the second time. This time, Lin Yi used a more extreme method, using the method of absorbing and compressing energy to break through. Since the normal method of breaking through did not work, then Lin Yi could only try to break through by force. Thus, Lin Yi used the art of dragon mastery, gathering all the energy in the space of the jade pendant around him, and began to compress the energy around him. This was a last resort. Lin Yi didn't want to give up just like that, so he could only try to break through by force. Not far away, Jiao Lao looked at Lin Yi and shook his head. He was already somewhat indifferent to Lin Yi's madness. From his point of view, as long as Lin Yi didn't die, it was fine. The pain was also self-inflicted. He was already used to it. Lin Yi took a deep breath and absorbed the compressed energy into his body. In an instant, Lin Yi's face suddenly turned red, showing an unhealthy expression. The compressed energy in Lin Yi's body was released in an instant. Lin Yi only felt like he was a balloon that was about to burst. His whole body was like a balloon bulging up and down uncomfortably. His 5 viscera and 6 bowels felt like they were compressed together, squeezed to the point where there was no space at all. Ah! Lin Yi screamed in agony as beads of sweat rolled down his determined face. He couldn't help but scream in agony as he felt like he was about to explode from the excruciating pain. Finally, Lin Yi couldn't take it anymore. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His whole body felt like it was about to explode, and there was a boom in his head. However, what Lin Yi couldn't accept was that he could endure the pain, but he couldn't break through. This was what made him very depressed. Almost just a little bit more. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and complained in a very depressed manner, "Jiao Lao, I almost broke through. Above Earth class, you can't forcefully break through by compressing your vital energy. If you continue to try, won't it just increase the pain?" Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi and shook his head. "There's a saying, more haste, less speed. You're still a little bit away from breaking through. I'm afraid it's not possible for you to break through by force." "I can't break through today?" Lin Yi asked a little unwillingly. "Breaking through today isn't very realistic," Jiao Yazi said. After this time, I'm afraid it won't be easy to encounter such an opportunity again." Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Now that his injuries were healed, it was a good opportunity. Chapter 2377. His meridians had just been repaired and they were still very resilient. They hadn't stabilized yet, and it was perfect for forcefully breaking through. After a few more days, it would be even more difficult to break through. Then try again. Jiao Yazi didn't try to persuade Lin Yi anymore. He knew Lin Yi's personality. He was the type of person who would try as long as there was a sliver of hope. Lin Yi quickly repaired the parts of his meridians that were damaged by the chi bomb before continuing to compress the energy bomb, starting the second attempt. Boom. The second attempt to compress his true chi failed. Boom. The third attempt to compress his true chi failed. Boom. The 10th attempt to compress his true chi failed. Lin Yi felt a sense of defeat. Could it be that he was too impatient? Just a little bit more and he could break through, but it was this little bit that kept Lin Yi at Earth class mid-phase. "I don't want to give up." Lin Yi roared furiously. Yes, he really didn't want to give up. He was just a little bit away from breaking through to Earth class mid-phase peak, but because of that little bit, he couldn't break through. He had already controlled the amount of energy he could compress to the limit. Any more and it would explode outside his body. If Lin Yi took in a little more chi, or if his practitioner's arts circulated a little faster, he would be able to break through in the same amount of time. But, wait, faster practitioner's arts? Lin Yi suddenly remembered something important. Wuchintian. Lin Yi came back to reality from the jade space and called out to the living room outside. "Boss, what's wrong?" Chintian quickly ran over and pushed open the door to Lin Yi's room. "You and Yao Yao go get Wang Xinyan." Lin Yi quickly ordered, "Hurry up, it's urgent." "I need her urgently," It'll be too late if we're late. What? Qintian froze. Wasn't the boss a little too horny? Did he need Wang Xinyan urgently? However, when he saw the anxious and solemn expression on Lin Yi's face, he did not dare to ask too much. He quickly nodded and said, "Okay, I'll go now." Lin Yi's voice wasn't soft at all, and Meng Yao and Yushu heard it as well. They looked at each other strangely, shocked by Lin Yi's words as well. Lin Yi wouldn't have gone crazy again, would he? Yao Yao, is Shield Bro in heat? Yushu said in surprise. Shu, Lin Yi's acting weird, let's go find Xinyan. Meng Yao understood Lin Yi's personality. If Lin Yi really needed a woman after going crazy, he would have gone straight to Shu or even her. There was no need for him to go to Wang Xinyan. After all, Meng Yao thought that Xinyan might become Lin Yi's girlfriend. But at least the two of them weren't really in a relationship other than an ambiguous one. So, with Lin Yi's personality, he wouldn't go to bed with Xinyan. There was no way he was going to get Wang Xinyan to sleep with him. There had to be something else. Oh, okay. Yushu nodded. She was just saying it casually. She wouldn't mess around or joke at a critical moment like this. She hurried out of the villa with Qintian and ran to the car. Elder Pai, you guys protect the boss. I'll go with Yao Yao and the others. Qintian said quickly. Okay. Don't worry, we're here. Elder Pai patted his chest. He had a sky class with him, and as long as it wasn't a troublesome enemy, he would be able to handle it. Qintian nodded. He quickly got into the jeep in the yard, and Meng Yao and Yushu got in as well. The three of them rushed to school. Wang Xinyan should be in the dorm at this time. It was Sunday. It was afternoon, and even the students who had gone home were back in their rooms. Plus, Wang Xinyan didn't seem to be home during the weekend. Her parents seemed to be very busy. Meng Yao and Yushu knew where Xinyan's dorm was. Qintian parked the car downstairs, and Meng Yao and Yushu rushed up and knocked on Xinyan's door. It wasn't Xinyan who opened the door, but another girl from Xinyan's dorm, Chai Xiaoling, Zhao Xingji's girlfriend. Meng Yao and Yushu had gone to the Tiger Lion Park with her before, and they'd had a meal together. Yao Yao Shu? Are you here for Xinyan? Xiaoling could guess why Meng Yao and Yushu were here. She and he Meiwa knew Meng Yao and Yushu, but they didn't interact much with them. Xinyan was the only one who seemed to have a good relationship with them. Xiaoling was very curious sometimes. Meng Yao and Yushu seemed to have some kind of relationship with Lin Yi, and so did Xinyan. The three of them seemed to be very close at the same time. It was weird. And where's Xinyan? Meng Yao said hurriedly. Because Lin Yi's tone was very, very urgent, it must have been a big problem, and so Meng Yao didn't dare to be slow. She didn't bother greeting Xiaoling politely and asked directly. Xinyan's in the shower, what's wrong? What's wrong? Xiaoling was curious why Meng Yao was in such a hurry. Shower? Meng Yao blinked. She didn't expect Xinyan to be in the shower at this time. She was in a difficult position. Then, how long has she been in the shower? About 5 minutes, right? Xiaoling was even more confused about why Meng Yao was in such a rush. What happened? Meng Yao didn't know how to explain it, and she was in a dilemma. Yushu, on the other hand, charged into Xinyan's dorm room and pulled up a sheet from what looked like Xinyan's bed before rushing into the bathroom. Who's there? Xinyan screamed when she saw someone opening the bathroom door. She didn't hear Meng Yao and Yushu coming to the dorm because of the shower, so she jumped when Shu opened the door. This was a girl's room and boys weren't allowed to enter. Xinyan didn't lock the door, but under normal circumstances, roommates wouldn't open the door. Xinyan breathed a sigh of relief when she saw it was Yushu, but at the same time she was puzzled. What was Yushu doing here? Xinyan sis, come with us. Shield Bro needs you. With that, Yushu turned off the shower and covered Xinyan with the bedsheet. She wrapped Xinyan up like a mummy and pushed her out of the room. Yushu's eyes lit up as she walked out of the room. Chapter 2378. Too coincidental, ah? What are you talking about? Stop it. Xinyan didn't understand what Yushu was trying to do, and was pushed out of the washroom. Shield Bro really needs you, he's dying, it's too late. Yushu didn't know why Lin Yi was in such a rush to find Xinyan, but she just wanted Xinyan to hurry up. Dying? Xinyan was shocked. What do you mean? What's wrong with him? It's a long story, come with us. Yushu said as she pushed Xinyan. Let me put on some clothes first. Xinyan smiled bitterly. It's too late, Yao Yao, help us. Yushu waved at Meng Yao. Meng Yao didn't want to play around with Yushu, but it'd take a lot of time for Xinyan to put on some clothes. She grabbed a jacket that she suspected to be Xinyan's and draped it over Xinyan's body, pushing Xinyan out with Yushu. Xinyan didn't know what to do. If she didn't know that Mengyao and Yushu couldn't be kidnappers, she would have thought that she was kidnapped again. But looking at how worried they were, Lin Yi must have really made a mistake. Xinyan didn't insist, and just like that she was pushed out of the room with the jacket wrapped around her and went downstairs. It wasn't to the extent of exposing herself, since she was wrapped tightly in the sheet, but it still attracted a lot of weird looks from her classmates. But Xinyan didn't have anything to explain, and just followed Mengyao and Yushu out of the girls' dorm, getting into the jeep. Qintian was surprised to see Xinyan dressed like this, but he didn't say anything. He started the car and drove back to the villa in the Shueshang district. Now, can you guys tell me what happened to Lin Yi? Xinyan was a little troubled. What the hell was she doing with her naked body wrapped in a sheet? She looked like a mistress who got caught in the act. We don't know either. Mengyao shrugged apologetically. Xinyan paused. If you guys don't know, then why did you make me come out in such a hurry? Lin Yi ran into an enemy and got heavily injured. He's been recovering in his room since he got home, but he suddenly called Wu Qintian over, saying that he really needs you. He wants us to bring you over immediately. Mengyao explained. That's it. We don't know why he's looking for you, but he seems to be in a hurry. Is that so? Xinyan blinked, but something seemed to have dawned on her. Could it be that Lin Yi's healing had failed, and he needed her sent to help him? Xinyan blushed at the thought. Xinyan sis, you have to be careful. Shield bro might be in heat, Yushu said. Xinyan's face turned even redder at the thought of what she was wearing. It was embarrassing enough having Lin Yi sniff her scent while he healed, and now she wasn't wearing anything at all. Yushu thought that Xinyan believed her when she saw the blush. She smiled mischievously. Xinyan sis, now that you're Shield bro's woman, you have to get along well with Yao Yao sis. Don't bully her. ? Xinyan didn't know what Shu was talking about, not understanding what was going on. Shu, don't talk nonsense. What does this have to do with me? Mengyao glared at Yushu. I'm just worried that Yao Yao sis will get bullied in the future. We're alone? Yushu mumbled but didn't continue. It didn't take long for the car to arrive at the villa's entrance. Mengyao and Yushu dragged Xinyan into the villa, pushing her into Lin Yi's bedroom without caring if she wanted to or not. Shu even pulled off Xinyan's jacket and pushed her onto Lin Yi's bed before quickly closing the door with Mengyao. Ha. Yushu smiled mischievously. Yao Yao, you've achieved your goal. What do you mean my goal? Mengyao had been trying to get Lin Yi and Xinyan together, but now that it was over she felt a little uncomfortable. It was as if someone had stolen something from her. It was a complicated feeling. It's nothing. Yushu surprisingly stopped messing around. Xinyan sis is a good person, she doesn't have any bad intentions. You'll get along well with Yao Yao sis in the future, I'm not worried. What? Mengyao blinked, not understanding what Yushu was saying. It's nothing. Yushu shook her head before resuming her smile. Detective Shu 007, go check if Shield bro did push Xinyan sis down. With that, Yushu put her ear to Lin Yi's door. Lin Yi, on the other hand, had been compressing the energy bomb, waiting for Wang Xinyan's arrival before breaking through the barrier in one go. Now that Wang Xinyan was here, it was only natural that he started preparing to break through the barrier. Lin Yi? You. Xinyan jumped at the sight of the blood on Lin Yi's body, not knowing what to do. Come closer to me. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry at Xinyan's situation. Xinyan was wrapped in a bedsheet, and there were water stains on her hair. She'd been showering when Mengyao and Yushu brought her back forcefully. Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Wasn't this too much of a coincidence? Yeah. Xinyan replied softly. She was a little embarrassed, but Lin Yi was in such a pitiful state that she didn't dare tarry. Her body trembled as she moved closer to Lin Yi, her heart pounding, her face red as well. It wasn't the first time she'd been intimate with Lin Yi, after all. They'd slept together during military training, and Xinyan always tried to get close to Lin Yi with less clothes on during class. But today was a little different. Mengyao and Yushu were outside after all, and Xinyan couldn't bring herself to do that. They probably thought that Lin Yi wanted to sleep with her, didn't they? Xinyan's face was as red as blood at the thought. The aroma on Xinyan's body was like a shot of adrenaline into Lin Yi's body, and with the help of the bomb Lin Yi's chi reached its peak. Lin Yi quickly channeled the art of dragon mastery. He could clearly feel that he was about to break through. Chapter 2379. Lin Yi started channeling the chant of the art of dragon mastery crazily. Lin Yi's body was covered in sweat as if he was in a steamer. His expression was one of pain and agony, Come closer. Lin Yi felt that he was so close to success. Oh, okay. Xinyan subconsciously moved her body closer to Lin Yi. Her whole body was about to be pressed against Lin Yi's body. This made Xinyan even more embarrassed. It wasn't like the two hadn't been close before during the military training, but it was different now. Xinyan only had a sheet on her. Just a little more, can you remove the sheet a little more? Lin Yi felt that this was a little too much, but at this moment, Lin Yi had no choice but to do this. He didn't want to give up. He was at the barrier of the middle phase peak, just a little more and he'd be able to break through. I'm inside. Xinyan wanted to say that she wasn't wearing anything underneath, but she saw the look on Lin Yi's face. She was scared that she'd delay Lin Yi's recovery. She didn't care anymore. She'd seen everything during the military training anyway, now wouldn't make a difference. And so, Xinyan made up her mind and removed the sheet on her body, pressing her whole body on Lin Yi's body. Lin Yi felt a fragrant and soft body fall into his arms. His lower body suddenly heated up, but Lin Yi knew that this wasn't the time to think about other things. He quickly focused his mind and channeled the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. Boom. Lin Yi felt the fragrance on Xinyan's body fusing with the pure qi in his body, forming a ball of heat that rushed into his dantian and spread out. That heat wave split into countless small streams of pure qi, spreading through his meridians and nourishing them. He broke through. He had finally broken through. Lin Yi was overjoyed. The breakthrough this time was a bumpy one, but the result was good. Wang Xinyan, on the other hand, was a big part of the credit. If it weren't for her, he wouldn't have been able to break through today. But when he thought of Wang Xinyan, the joy in Lin Yi's heart was extinguished by awkwardness. How was he supposed to face Wang Xinyan? Lin Yi didn't open his eyes, but his perception in the jade space allowed him to feel everything around him even more clearly than seeing it with his own eyes. Looking at Xinyan's naked body, Lin Yi suppressed the urge in his heart, feeling a little troubled. This time, they were in big trouble. In the past it was all a misunderstanding. But this time, could it still be considered a misunderstanding? How was he supposed to explain this to Xinyan? How would he face her in the future? Lin Yi suddenly had a headache. He really didn't think that Wang Xinyan would be brought here by Mengyao and Yushu in a situation like this. If Xinyan hadn't taken a shower, he could have just unbuttoned her shirt like usual, but this time, there was nothing under the bed sheet. Lin Yi was in an awkward situation, but it seemed that Xinyan was in an even more awkward situation. Although her body was pressed against Lin Yi, her breathing was rapid, and her face was frighteningly red. She didn't dare move at all, her body frozen on the bed, her eyes closed, and she just lay there like an idiot. Sigh. Lin Yi sighed. If he were to open his eyes and talk to her right now, both of them would be in an awkward situation. After all, Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan had a little something going on between them, but it wasn't to the point where they were naked. And so Lin Yi made a quick decision. He'd pretend to be asleep for now, pretending not to know anything. Letting Xinyan leave on her own was probably the best solution. Otherwise, Lin Yi really wouldn't know how to face Xinyan. At that thought, Lin Yi's breathing became even. Lin Yi had been on many special missions before, and it was very easy for him to pretend to be asleep. Others wouldn't be able to see through it. As expected, Xinyan waited for a long time, her body stiff beside Lin Yi, not daring to move or look at Lin Yi. Suddenly she heard Lin Yi's even breathing. She couldn't help but be startled. After listening carefully for a while, she realized that Lin Yi seemed to have fallen asleep. Xinyan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that Lin Yi really was asleep, but she had to admit that this was the best possible outcome for her. She didn't have to face Lin Yi awake and she wouldn't feel awkward. But, in her heart, she was still a little disappointed. Lin Yi was asleep? Didn't he know that she was lying naked beside him? Did he not have any sexual interest for her? Did he just fall asleep like that? A girl's thoughts were always contradictory. On one hand, she was afraid of the awkwardness, but on the other, she was a little annoyed. Did Lin Yi not care about her? In that moment of hesitation, Xinyan wrapped herself in the bed sheet and put on a cotton coat. She quietly opened Lin Yi's door and left. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't open his eyes, but he could clearly see what was going on outside. Looking at the beautiful Xinyan beside him, especially the naked Xinyan, Lin Yi almost had a nosebleed. Fortunately, he'd vomited too much before and he didn't have enough blood left in him. Pho. Lin Yi waited until Xinyan left the room before letting out a long breath, suppressing the excitement in his heart. This excitement was the excitement of seeing Xinyan's naked body, and the joy of leveling up to Earth-class mid-phase peak. Lin kid, I didn't think you'd use this method to level up. How shameless. Jiao Yazi said with disdain. Had Jiao Lao, I had no other choice. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Never mind, but congratulations, you've found a new way to level up. Jiao Yazi said. Haha. Lin Yi started laughing like an idiot. Xinyan let out a yelp when she opened the door because she bumped into Shu, who was standing at the door. She didn't expect Yushu to be eavesdropping at the door. So, why are you here? Oh, I was just worried about Shield Bro, so I came to check up on him. Yushu was a little embarrassed that she was caught eavesdropping. Oh, Xinyan sis, your chest is pretty big too, a little bigger than Yao Yao sis. Xinyan was speechless. What was she talking about? She blushed, but for some reason she said, not as big as you. Chapter 2380. Didn't you hear it already? Xinyan didn't know what to do with the curious Yushu. Alright, do you have any clothes? Can you help me find some? Why do I look so weird like this? Xinyan wasn't like this right now, but she couldn't just walk around in a bed all the time, could she? It was just too weird. I found some for you, Xinyan. Go upstairs and change, we're about the same size. You should be able to wear my clothes. Mengyao had expected this to happen. She prepared a new set of clothes in the bedroom upstairs. Thanks. Xinyan nodded to Mengyao. We're the ones who should be thanking Lin Yi, it's all thanks to you. Mengyao said. Lin Yi's my friend too, it's nothing. Xinyan shook her head and quickly followed Mengyao upstairs. Chintian, Pai Jishan, Pai Jihai, and even Elder Pai and Gonggao were all very curious as to why Lin Yi was looking for Xinyan, but it wasn't their place to ask. They could only pretend that they didn't know anything. Fo. Xinyan stumbled onto Mingyao's bed the moment she got there, her face red as if she'd lost all her strength. Her heart was pounding like it was going to jump out of her chest at any moment. Oh, Xinyan sis, did that feel good? Can you share it with us? Yushu asked sneakily as she followed Xinyan into the bedroom. What? Xinyan hadn't recovered from her nervousness. She jumped at Yushu's question. What did it feel like? It's the feeling of asterisk asterisk. Wasn't Shield Bro looking for you to asterisk asterisk? Yushu said as she looked Xinyan up and down, trying to find a flaw in her. Oh. Xinyan understood what Yushu was saying. It seemed like she'd been misunderstood. But anyone would think too much about it since Lin Yi said that he needed her. It was normal for Yushu to think the wrong things. But she didn't know how to explain it. She didn't know if Lin Yi was a secret, and she didn't know if she could tell Mengyao and Yushu. Shu, stop guessing, there's nothing going on between Xinyan and Lin Yi. Xinyan didn't look like she'd just been pushed down at least. Xinyan was walking normally, and she'd be in Lin Yi's room right now if she'd been pushed down. She wouldn't be running out of the room in such a hurry. Oh. Yushu was just joking, 'cause Mengyao didn't want her to ask too much. Xinyan sis, what Shield Bro was looking for you for? I think we should wait for Lin Yi to come out and let him tell you guys? I don't know if I can tell him. Xinyan said, troubled. Okay, we'll wait for Lin Yi then. Mengyao could tell that Xinyan had something she couldn't talk about, so she stopped asking. I've prepared the clothes, but you didn't finish showering, right? The bathroom in the room can be used for showering. You go first, I'll go downstairs with Shu. Okay, thanks. Xinyan nodded, relieved that Mengyao wasn't going to press her for more information. Mengyao pulled Yushu downstairs and Xinyan went to the bathroom. She really did need a shower. After all, the blood from Lin Yi's body was all over her body, and it was quite scary. Lin Yi changed his clothes and walked out of the room to see Mengyao and Yushu coming downstairs, but Xinyan wasn't there. Yao Yao Shu, where's Xinyan? She's showering and changing upstairs. Mengyao said. Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. It's all thanks to you guys. Lin Yi said with a smile. Right, Shield Bro, why are you looking for Xinyan sis? Yushu asked curiously. Let's talk about that later. This involved Xinyan's privacy, and Elder Pai and the others were in the room. Lin Yi couldn't say much. Oh. Yushu nodded and didn't ask any more questions. After a while, Xinyan came downstairs in a brand new outfit. She paused when she saw Lin Yi in the living room, who was also wearing a new outfit. She opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but didn't know what to say. The atmosphere in the living room was getting awkward all of a sudden. Xinyan. Thank you. Lin Yi looked at Xinyan, overwhelmed with emotions. He wanted to thank her but didn't know what to say. Recalling the ambiguous atmosphere, Lin Yi couldn't help but feel a headache coming on from where he stood with Xinyan. You're welcome? Xinyan stuttered. She thought that Lin Yi was asleep, and that she'd change her clothes and come downstairs. She'd be able to leave as soon as possible and calm down for the night. Everyone would calm down at school tomorrow, and it wouldn't be too awkward as long as she didn't bring it up on purpose. But she didn't expect Lin Yi to come out so soon, and change his clothes as well. She'd only taken a quick shower in the bathroom before putting on her clothes and going downstairs. It didn't take up too much time, so she was sure that Lin Yi wasn't asleep at all. He was just pretending to be asleep. Xinyan felt a little empty and disappointed at the thought. Did he not like her? Otherwise, why would he pretend to be asleep? Wang Xinyan didn't say anything after that. She went silent. Lin Yi, on the other hand, smiled bitterly as he scratched his head. He didn't know what to do. If it was Xiao Xiao or even Shu Lin, he could face it calmly, but Xinyan? There was a bit of ambiguity between the two, but it hadn't been made public. But now, be my girlfriend? Lin Yi extended his hand to Xinyan and took a deep breath. He wasn't an irresponsible person, and it wasn't that he didn't like Xinyan. Things had come to this point and Lin Yi had to do something. It was a little too fast, but Lin Yi felt that it would be unfair to Xinyan if he didn't do something. But he felt sorry for Xiao Xiao. She agreed to let him find a wife, but wasn't this a little too fast? Ah. Xinyan froze. She didn't think that Lin Yi would say something like this after a long silence. Chapter 2381. Xinyan stared at Lin Yi blankly. She'd thought about their relationship before, and she'd thought that things between her and Lin Yi wouldn't work out because of her family and House Kong. She'd been suppressing her feelings for Lin Yi, trying her best not to let things get out of hand with Lin Yi. But while she kept reminding herself to stay calm, she'd done a lot of things she couldn't forgive. Like hugging Lin Yi, watching a movie with Lin Yi, and now she was naked with Lin Yi. She didn't like Xiaolong and she didn't like the marriage with House Kong, but her family had already agreed to it. She felt like she shouldn't be doing this. It felt like cheating and it made her feel guilty. But Xinyan had to admit that being with Lin Yi was very pleasurable. It was comfortable, and the occasional flirtatious moment, the heartbeat was unforgettable and satisfying. She even wished that she could be the desk mate of Lin Yi forever, never having to graduate, never having to face that marriage. But unconsciously, Xinyan's heart was leaning more and more towards Lin Yi. She was getting more and more rebellious and she didn't want to think about marriage anymore. But she knew that some things couldn't be changed. She was just lying to herself. When Lin Yi displayed his extraordinary strength, and when she saw Lin Yi's followers getting stronger and stronger, even Elder Pai becoming Lin Yi's follower, Xinyan's heart was filled with anticipation. The common Xiao family's support was the Hidden House Pai, and now that the Hidden House Pai had become Lin Yi's follower, it shouldn't be too hard for Elder Pai to talk to the Xiao family and cancel the marriage, right? But Xinyan didn't think that Lin Yi's confession would come so quickly. It caught her off guard. From her point of view, she should at least break off the engagement before she could be with Lin Yi. Ever since she was young, she had always been an obedient girl, so she always felt that it was a crime to be with Lin Yi without breaking off the engagement. It made her feel a deep sense of guilt. This was also the reason why she was stunned for a moment. She didn't know how to answer Lin Yi. Agree? Don't agree? Xinyan's heart was pounding furiously. She couldn't make up her mind, not knowing what to do. Xinyan was a little taken aback. She really wanted to say yes to Lin Yi, but there were so many people in the room, especially in front of Mengyao and Yushu. She couldn't bring herself to just nod her head like that. This seemed to be threatening Lin Yi. Did he say that because he wanted to be responsible for himself? Why else would he pretend to be asleep? All of a sudden, Xinyan's heart was a mess. All sorts of things were rushing into her mind, making her feel dizzy. She wanted to run away, but somehow Xinyan ran out of the villa, disappearing from everyone's line of sight. Lin Yi paused. It was easy for him to stop Xinyan, but if she were to leave now, did that mean she was rejecting him? Lin Yi couldn't help but smile bitterly. He didn't know what Xinyan was thinking. Logically speaking, she should have feelings for him, right? Otherwise, why would she help him with his training so many times? For a girl to make a sacrifice like this, it was enough to prove her feelings, but why did she run away all of a sudden? Shield Bro's confession failed. Yushu was a little puzzled. Xinyan seemed to like Lin Yi, so why did it fail? Mengyao glared at her. At this moment, Lin Yi was in a bad mood after his confession failed. Shu's words were like adding oil to the fire. But she didn't know why, but Mengyao felt relieved. Was it because Xinyan didn't accept Lin Yi's confession? But why did she feel that it was a pity? Was it because she hoped that Lin Yi and Xinyan could be together? Was it because of his promise to Tang Yun? Old Pai and the others could see the awkwardness in the air as well. It was best if they didn't stay in the villa any longer. It wouldn't look good on Lin Yi. He cleared his throat. Jishan, Jihai, Chintian, Elder Wu, let's go for a stroll, the weather's nice today. Everyone responded, naturally understanding what Old Pai was thinking. It was indeed awkward for them to stay here, so it was best if they left. Linny didn't stop them, but before Chintian walked out, Linny said, "Look after her, don't let anything happen to her." "Got it, boss." Chintian understood immediately. Linny didn't say it that clearly, but he knew that Linny wanted him to keep an eye on Xinyan. With a bitter smile, Linny sat on the sofa with Yushu and Mengyao beside him. "Shield bro, you failed at hitting on the girl? Do you need Shu to analyze it for you?" Yushu asked. "What do you know? Stop analyzing." Mengyao interrupted. "Go get me some water, I'm a little thirsty." "Oh." Yushu didn't look like she was unwilling this time. She stood up happily and walked towards the kitchen. Linny, Xinyan's probably a little confused for a moment. "It's not that she doesn't want to accept your confession." Mengyao was more attentive to details and came to this conclusion after some thought. She wasn't too sure, but she was just trying to comfort him and make him feel better. "It's fine, huh?" Linny said with a smile. "I know. Okay, it's good that you know. Don't be too disappointed, Xinyan actually likes you." Mengyao said. "What happened today was too sudden, I'd probably hesitate if you confess to me all of a sudden. Of course, if you confess a few more times, I'd probably say yes. Okay?" Linny nodded, not thinking much about it. Disappointment flashed in Mingyao's eyes. Did he really get it? He didn't seem to. Yushu came back with a cup of tea and handed it to Linny. "Right, Shield bro, why were you looking for Xinyan sis?" Chapter 2382. The tea's a little hot. Let's drink it later? Yushu said quickly when she saw Linny looking at her strangely. Oh. Linny wasn't in a good mood, so he didn't think too much about it. "There's a special scent on Wang Xinyan, I wonder if you guys noticed it?" Scent. Mengyao blinked, but after thinking about it, Xinyan did seem to have a faint scent on her, something that could only be smelled close to her. Mengyao was sitting next to Xinyan when they went to the Tiger Lion Park and she did smell it. It was a nice scent that made people feel comfortable and safe. Mengyao thought that it was perfume, but now that Linny was talking about it, it didn't seem like perfume at all. Mengyao had used a lot of perfume brands, but this was the first time she smelled it. She nodded. "I think so, it smells pretty good." "What's wrong?" "Oh, Shu smelled it too, it really does smell like a fragrant herb." Yushu nodded as well. "Yeah, I slept with Xinyan in the barracks during military training and I found out that this scent can speed up my training." Linny said. "My training speed has increased quite a bit recently, and it's all thanks to Xinyan." "Ah, I get it. You were about to break through the level barrier just now, weren't you? You were just a little bit away from it and that's why I called Xinyan here." Mengyao said. She understood what was going on after hearing Lin Yi's explanation. "Yeah, that's it." Linny nodded. "I was injured in a fight at the casino, but at the same time, I found an opportunity to break through the barrier. It's just a little bit away, but I can't break through no matter how hard I try. That's why I asked you guys to get Xinyan here." "Then? Shield bro, did you break through now?" Yushu was very surprised. She didn't think that Linny was looking for Xinyan for this reason. Wasn't this too amazing? Was Wang Xinyan a moving cultivation furnace? Yes, but Wang Xinyan took off the sheets to let her body smell better. So I think I should take responsibility? Linny smiled bitterly. After that, he naturally picked up the teacup on the coffee table and prepared to take a sip of tea. Oh wait. Yushu snatched the teacup from Lin Yi's hands and put it back on the table. "It's still pretty hot. Drink it later." Question mark. Linny looked at Yushu strangely, not understanding what was going on. "Shu, what are you doing?" Mengyao was confused by Shu's actions as well. She snatched the teacup from Mingyao's hands. "I'll drink first, I'm a little thirsty." Ah. Xiao Shu's hand loosened, and the teacup fell to the ground. It broke into pieces and the tea inside spilled all over the floor. "Shu, are you trying to rebel?" Mengyao didn't know what to say at the sight of Shu breaking the teacup. Oh. Shu's hand slipped. "I'll go clean it up now." Yushu stood up and went to get a broom and mop, as if she'd let out a sigh of relief. Mengyao opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. Why was Shu acting so weird today? Her mind, however, was on Linny. About Xinyan. I'll give her a call later. I have her number and it's easier for us girls to talk to each other. I'll ask for you? Thanks. Linny said. Yeah. Mengyao looked at Linny, feeling a little emotional. Why hadn't anyone asked for her before? This Shu guy. It didn't take long for Yushu to clean up the broken teacup before mopping the floor. Grandma's son had been with Faubert for the past couple of days, and Faubert and Pengzhan were both in Donghai dealing with business matters. The housework had fallen on everyone's shoulders. It's done? Yushu sighed in relief as if a huge burden had been lifted off her shoulders. Shu, what's wrong? You don't have a fever today, do you? Why do I feel like something's wrong? Mengyao felt that Yushu wasn't quite herself today. It's nothing, I'm fine, Yushu said. Lin Yi had broken through the level barrier, but there were still a lot of things he needed to think about after today's fight. He nodded to Mengyao and Yushu. I'm going back to my room. I need to work on some martial arts questions. You guys talk. Yeah, okay. Mengyao, on the other hand, hoped that Lin Yi could do something else to distract himself from Xinyan's rejection. Lin Yi went into his room and started thinking about the reason for activating Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw today. There was the previous failure of Spring Rain, but from Lin Yi's perspective, Spring Rain failed because he didn't have a water attribute in his body. Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw, on the other hand, was different. He could activate Mu Linsun's 1,000 transformations with ease, and since he could use sky-splitting claw with Fiery Fist, it meant that he had no problem activating it. So why did Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw fail? Lin Yi frowned. He couldn't figure it out, so he started using Mu Linsun's 1,000 transformations incantation again, following the method of activating sky-splitting claw. He started activating the first form, Mu Linsun's sky-splitting claw. This time Lin Yi didn't try to activate the fifth form right away. He tested it with the first form, but the result was tragic. The activation still failed, and it didn't even feel as good as when he activated Spring Rain. Although the activation of Spring Rain from the sky had failed, the initial process was smooth. It was only the final step to release it. However, Mu Linsun's heaven-splitting claw was different. It could not be activated at all. It was as if the mantra and the activation method did not match. How strange. Lin Yi tried again, and after confirming that he couldn't use Mu Linsun's sky-splitting earth-splitting claw, he stopped. There was no point in trying anymore. Chapter 2383. That's right. Lin Yi suddenly thought of a fact. The Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw was a fire attribute martial arts technique, and the Frenzied Fire Fist was also a fire attribute martial arts technique. Therefore, these two martial arts techniques could be combined. By using the mantra of the Frenzied Fire Fist and the activation method of the Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw, they could form a new martial arts technique. However, the Wood Forest 1,000 transformations was different. This was a wood attribute mental cultivation technique, which was different from the fire attribute Heaven and Earth Splitting Claw. Therefore, this should be the reason why the two could not be successfully activated when combined. Thinking of this, Lin Yi's mind suddenly lit up. He combined the Frenzied Fire Fist and the Wood Forest 1,000 transformations and tried to activate them, but it ended in failure. Moreover, regardless of whether Lin Yi combined the mantra of the Frenzied Fire Fist with the Wood Forest 1,000 transformations or the mantra of the Wood Forest 1,000 transformations with the Frenzied Fire Fist, they did not succeed. This indirectly proved that Lin Yi's previous guess and judgment were correct. Only martial arts techniques of the same attribute could be combined with each other. Martial arts techniques of different attributes could not be combined. In other words, if Park Laoyo's martial arts technique was not a fire attribute or wood attribute, but a metal attribute, water attribute or earth attribute martial art technique, Lin Yi would not have been able to imitate it. He definitely would not have been able to activate it. Thinking of this, Lin Yi secretly praised his luck. He was really lucky. Park Laoyo's martial arts technique happened to be of the fire attribute. Lin Yi also hit the mark by chance. He directly combined it with the Frenzied Fire Fist that he was most familiar with and successfully activated it. At that time, if Lin Yi had combined the Wood Forest 1,000 transformations and failed to activate it, Lin Yi might not have thought so much and given up on experimenting with the Frenzied Fire Fist in a moment of desperation. Then it would have been a disaster. However, when Lin Yi figured this out, a new question arose. That was, why could Taganlong's 5 elements 8 trigrams palm be combined with the Frenzied Fire Fist and the Wood Forest 1,000 transformations? What kind of martial skill was this 5 elements 8 trigrams palm? 5 elements? Lin Yi subconsciously twitched his mouth. Could it really belong to the 5 elements? Could it be that this was a martial skill that could be used by all 5 elements? Thinking of this, Lin Yi could not help but secretly click his tongue. This Taganlong was really lucky to actually cultivate such a martial technique. However, Lin Yi suddenly thought of the colorful vital qi on Taganlong's body. Could it be that he had a 5-elemental constitution and was using the 5-elemental vital qi to activate the 5-elemental 8 trigram palm? Thinking about it, it was really possible. If he didn't play why would the power of his martial arts be so abnormal? If Taganlong really had a 5-elemental constitution and had the 5-elemental vital chi, then the third style of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm should be as powerful as the 15th style of an ordinary high-grade martial arts technique. However, Taganlong obviously did not do it. Of course, this was only a theoretical figure. Although the strength of a martial arts technique had a lot to do with the skill itself, it was also related to the proficiency of the cultivator. For example, when Lin Yi used the frenzied fire fist, his proficiency was higher than Falbert's. Therefore, when Lin Yi used the frenzied fire fist, the first style was equivalent to the power of the second style of an ordinary martial arts technique and so on. However, Falbert could not do it. Therefore, although Taganlong's martial arts technique was powerful, theory was theory and reality was reality. It was already very rare for him to be able to unleash the current power. After deducing the power of Taganlong's martial arts technique, Lin Yi was a little covetous. Even if he had a 3-elemental constitution of wood, fire, and metal, if he were to cultivate the 5 elements 8 trigram palm, he should be able to unleash the power of the 15th style and the 5th style. That would be awesome enough. The power was simply heaven-defying. No wonder Taganlong was so strong. However, Lin Yi had cultivated the omnipotent martial arts technique and could master any martial arts technique that could be cultivated. This way he would definitely be stronger than Taganlong. Phew. Lin Yi let out a long breath and silently recited Taganlong's name. It seemed that when he was strong enough he should go to the Taganlong family again and steal Taganlong's martial arts technique. That way he would be invincible when facing even more powerful enemies. Right, didn't my master, the strange man in heaven rank, say that he was stealing the enemy's cultivation method? If it was really as he said and he could steal the mantra of the 5 elements 8 trigram palm, that would be a good thing. But where was he going to find the strange man in heaven rank? The treasures in the Wulong Haut mountain range had already been taken out, so it was impossible for the heaven-ranked eccentric to return to that mountain range. With his crazy personality and brain, who knew where he might have run off to? It would be extremely difficult to find him. Outside the room, Yushu was sitting on the sofa in a daze. Although her eyes were on the TV, it was obvious that she was absent-minded. Shu, what's wrong with you? Is there something on your mind? Mengyao felt that something was wrong when Shu poured tea for her. She felt that something was wrong with her. Ah. Yushu froze and came back to her senses. Yao Yao, what did you say? Mengyao frowned slightly. Shu, is there something on your mind? Didn't you hear what I said just now? No, Shu was too engrossed in the TV just now. Yushu was a little shocked and quickly said with a smile. Really? Then what was on the TV? Mengyao asked. The TV. Yushu subconsciously glanced at the TV and said, Isn't it Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf? I just changed the channel. Mengyao didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It was SpongeBob just now. Oh right, it was SpongeBob. Yushu nodded. I watched SpongeBob yesterday and it was Pleasant Goat and Big Big Wolf just now. I didn't change the channel. Mengyao was a little speechless. Shu, what's wrong with you? You're even hiding it from me? Ah? Is that so? Yushu didn't expect Mengyao to be this cunning, lying to her. She shook her head. It's really nothing. Maybe I overused my brain in the casino today? Really? Mengyao naturally didn't believe Yushu's words. She sighed and lowered her voice. Is it because of Lin Yi? Mengyao thought about it and couldn't come up with a reason like that. Shu liked Lin Yi, and Yushu had never denied her feelings for him. It was understandable that Shu was in a bad mood after Lin Yi suddenly confessed to Wang Xinyan. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.